It all started with a dramatic run-up to the presidential nominations, with a battle going in and out of court, and one of the contenders proving that his pull-out game is nowhere near as weak as his chances of winning. Well, after all of that, we will soon be finding out who the NDC chooses as presidential candidate for 2024. But the keen and key battles are in the constituencies, and we'll be taking you across the country to the various areas where there is a fight to the metaphorical death for some people to make it back onto the ticket for the NDC as parliamentary candidates. One such place is Ningo Prampram, where after several elections, Sam George has established himself as the incumbent. But this time around, it promises to be the battle of his life as he comes up against Michael Kwete Tete. Michael Tete is no stranger to politics. Our very own Joseph Akable sat down with him earlier to try and understand why he has become such a threat to the incumbent.
Well, we all know that elections are a process. We don't have it as an event. So as we speak now, I don't have anything to complain about. But I don't also know what will transpire later in the day. But up to this time that you mentioned, 10 something, there is nothing to complain about.
But where have you been? We've not seen much of you around since the process started.
Well, you know, this is politics, and it's just like a war. So when you are going for war, you employ all sorts of strategies. So it is part of my strategy to do a few things in the house before coming on the ground. And that was it.
I mean, the last time the difference in the votes was just 7 votes. Does that give you confidence that this time around you'll be able to emerge victorious?
Yeah, exactly so. You know, as you are saying, this is not the first time I'm contesting. And last time I contested, the difference was 7 in favor of Honorable Sam George. Now, don't also forget that there were 27 others who participated and voted in the presidential primaries, but they were prevented from voting in the parliamentary. And all those 27 were my supporters, which means that if they were to be allowed to vote, I would have won by 20 votes.
I mean, we spoke to him earlier, and he says it's going to be a resounding victory for him. He doesn't think it will be anything close to what happened the other time.
How many football clubs have you seen that when they have a match and you ask them, they tell you, yes, I'm going to lose? He's going to lose it, but he can't say it.
You're very certain of that?
Yeah, very confident of that.
What have you done on the grounds to mean that you are going to win this election and that he is going to lose from what you are saying?
Well, campaign season is over. Voting is underway. And I thought you said you were going to ask me about how the processes are going. Okay, it is Sam George, yeah.
And that was not so long ago when our very own Joseph Akable caught up with Michael Tete. Now, we are going to see if we can speak to the other half of that contentious battle in that constituency of Ningo Prampram. Of course, that is Sam George. He has now won 3 times in a row. And we have him now joining us to give a bit of a response to what his contender is suggesting. Sam George, thank you for your time. It must be quite a tough day on your feet in Ningo Prampram.
And it's been okay. Started almost an hour late. We know the challenges the Electoral Commission had before the materials got here, setting up and all of that. So a few things that could have been done last night with the agents of the parties were done this morning. So we started around 8. Yeah. So far it's been smooth. It's just that the process appears to be a bit slow. So, but apart from that, it's okay.
You came here, you were welcoming delegates and all that. What has been your whole, motive for this welcoming of delegates? I wish that you just stand somewhere and just monitor how the exercise is going. But you were welcoming delegates.
You want to dictate to me now how I should behave on the elections ground?
We're just finding that from you, sir.
I don't see anything wrong with welcoming delegates, except you now want to dictate to me as a sitting member of parliament and as a parliamentary candidate how to relate to the delegates in the elections. But I don't see the issue with what you are. I don't get the point you're trying to make.
The last time you bagged some 407 votes out of 800, and there's been expansion of the electoral college for you, 1,700 and over. What is your conviction going into this election?
It's going to be a resounding victory. That's it. There's nothing more to add. It's going to be a resounding victory. It's like I've said earlier on. It's a battle between light and darkness, and I've never seen anywhere where darkness has prevailed over light.
You don't fear your delegates?
I trust my delegates. The delegates in Ningo Prampram, I trust them. They are rational. They're logical. And here, when they're for you, they're for you. When they're against you, they're against you. They don't hide it. And so I'm pretty confident.
Some people have said that you have actually invested a lot of resources. Also looking at the fact that you've been able to pass the delegates to this place, for want of a better word, you might have spent quite a lot of resources in doing this.
Being a member of parliament is an expensive enterprise. My electorates, not delegates, general election. The people who vote for me in the general election, apart from my responsibility as a lawmaker, expect that I will be there for them when it comes to social activities and social needs. Those demand resources. So to be an effective member of parliament, you definitely have to be resourceful. And I want to always believe that, like I always say, when you send your kid to school, the only way you can tell if your kid is studying and delivering value for the money you're spending is when you get the report card. The report card of every MP is the pink sheet every 4 years. When I became MP a parliamentary candidate in 2015, I mean, people say Ningo Prampram is a safe seat. What they've forgotten is that in 2012, the last election, general election before I became parliamentary candidate, the margin between the NDC and the NPP in Ningo Prampram was a mere 3,000, just 3,000. Okay, that's how close it was. In 2015, when I became parliamentary candidate, 1 year of working, we moved it to 10,000 in 1 year in 2016. And in 2020, we moved it to 30,000. So when you take my report card as a member of parliament, every 4 years, from 3,000 to 30,000, it goes without saying that the people can only reward you with their votes if you work for them. And working for them it demands resources.
Quick one on the withdrawal of Dr. Kwabena Dufo. You've had a lot to say about him in the past. Were you surprised that he finally threw in the towel, also citing frustrations and irregularities that had to do with the register?
Beautiful nonsense. Good riddance to bad rubbish. I told you that Kwabena Dufo was not in this race to contest with John Mahama. You remember? I told you that when you met me in Aham. I told you he was contesting against spoiled ballots. Spoiled ballots have beaten Kwabena Dufo. Too bad.
The issues you raised with the register, he raised with the register, the delegates list, how was it in this constituency for you? Were you given what you thought was accurate enough? You didn't have any concerns?
Kwabena Dufo had absolutely no case to make. When we all bought the forms, we were giving guidelines. The guidelines spoke about a delegates list. They didn't speak about an album. Spoke about a list. When we all went through vetting, we're all giving the delegates list. There's been absolutely no problem with a delegates list. If for administrative purposes, someone decides that they want to make the process faster, and remember I just spoke about how slow the process is, by introducing photo albums so that you don't have to do verification using various cards and all of that, and that is an add-on. If that was not executed properly, it cannot form the basis of discrediting the process, because the source document for determining eligibility to vote here, why you can't vote in this election, but I can vote, is because my name is in the delegate list, yours is not. It's not about pictures. And so there's absolutely nothing, there's no constituency where you would say that there have been issues with the delegates list. No.
And finally, I mean, this is an internal election. We have seen a gamut of security men here. I don't think that is our this Ayawaso West Wagon number 2? I do not think so. There are so many of them here. You should be worried about it.
They're my guests. I requested for them.
Why?
Because the other side, we had intelligence, the police as well, and don't forget, the police also got us intelligence. We had intelligence we shared with the police, and the police corroborated our intelligence that they had brought in a few miscreants. They know they are losing the elections, and so they wanted to mar the elections. And so we requested for a beef up of police from both region and national. We asked our divisional command to also beef up their numbers. And so they are my guests. We are happy they are here. They are law enforcement officers. If you come here as a delegate and you cast your vote through the process, the police is smiling. They're not touching anybody. If you come here to misbehave, the law will deal with you and deal with you forcefully.
How many have you requested to be here?
Well, at the last count, I know that the divisional command put 63 men on the ground. I know that region had sent in reinforcement and possibly national as well. And so at least we'll have around in the region of about 80 policemen. And I just saw the FPU as well arrive. That was a specific request we made. And so I'm excited. And let me say a very big thank you to the Ghana Police Service, the divisional commander, the district commander, the Tema regional commander, the director of operations national for responding to make sure that we have a peaceful, free and fair, calm elections. And so for those who have been brought in, if you've been paid already, pick the next bus and leave Ningo Prampram. If you've not been paid, sorry, bad day for business, go back. If you come here to misbehave, the law will deal with you.
All right, I appreciate it.
Right then, so we will be coming back to Ningo Prampram because we have an update on 2 people who have been arrested for campaigning on election day. You know, that is an offense, and so we will be coming back to Ningo Prampram to pick up on that. But let's go to another hot and contentious constituency where it's almost a bit of a family affair, Sechere Afram Plains. Let's find out how things have been shaping up there in the run-up to the election. Our correspondent is standing by. Talk to us. What's the local color? How are things proceeding since elections began?
This is actually the Edra Sechere constituency, where the current member of parliament for the National Democratic Congress, the Honorable Mohammed Bawa, is facing a fierce contest from 4 other contenders. That is the immediate past NDC constituency chairperson, and then also his own personal aide. He's facing a fierce contest from these people alongside 2 other contenders. As you can see, he just arrived here at the electoral grounds where the delegates are giving him a resounding welcome, and then he's also speaking to some of these delegates. Right here is him in my shot, trying to engage with some of the delegates over here. You can see him shaking hands with some of these delegates. In fact, the contest is set to be fierce, but we have him here. And Honorable, can you speak with us? Honorable, today is your election day. How does it feel?
It's my day. It's my endorsement. It's my election. The people of the National Democratic Congress have sustained this party since the time that we sit. When the rest of the 50% have seen it this party for the past 7 years. And so,
Honorable, is the competition not a difficult one for you?
very easy. Yes.
Are we going to see you win this contest? Okay, so that is the Honorable Member of Parliament for Edra Sechere constituency. According to him, he is going to win this contest. It is an easy one for him. So if you ask Kwajo, this is how it feels here at the Sechere Electoral Center, where the electoral commissioner just arrived. They just set up and they are waiting for the electoral process to begin. We are expecting 1,510 delegates to cast their votes today. It is a contest between the current member of parliament and then 4 other contenders. The delegates here are prepared for the election. The arrival here, you see, is the arrival of the current member of parliament for Edra Sechere, And also, we've had some of the aspirants come in and they had left because the election had not started. In fact, as of now, the process has not even started yet. We are even waiting for the EC to finish with the setup before we can begin the process. But you can see delegates jumping high to the sound Eyetusho, following the Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Bawa, who is seeking another term in Parliament. But he would therefore have to go through the party rules and regulations, which is to seek an election, another election, or to seek the vote of the delegate before he can contest in the general election come 2024. So here is the arrival of the Member of Parliament for Edua Seche Odumase, Honorable Bawa, who is interacting with some delegates. I am told that he will be the first person to cast his vote when the EC is done setting up. But what you can see right now is the Honorable Member of Parliament engaging some delegates before the election begins. And he says, according to him, this is an easy win for him. Although we are being told that the chairperson of the NDC, the one who just stepped aside, is also another contender, a strong contender to the Member of Parliament. He is saying that it's going to be an easy one for him. And let me see, is this contest going to be an easy one for Honorable Bawa? Okay, so some of these delegates are already following the Honorable Member of Parliament. Yes, we can see him engaging some of them. In fact, he's gone round for quite some time, and he is still engaging most of these delegates. Okay, so here is him and then his close friend. In fact, he was the man he had right now led his campaign here at the Ahmadiyya Primary School. So the Honorable had to send his regards to him before he continues his journey. But this is the situation, Kwejo. Here at the Seche Odumase Electoral Center. I am being told that in an hour time, the EC will be done and then the electoral process will begin. So if you ask, this is the situation here at the Seche Odumase Electoral Center, Kwejo.
Right. Nana Boachi Dankwa Yadom, our reporter there, bringing us the latest and speaking to a candidate who has no doubt in his own mind that today is merely an endorsement, not an election. Well, the results will tell the truth at the end of all of that. And so stay right here on your election headquarters for that. We'll be taking you around to many other constituencies as things continue to heat up, as delegates continue to cast their ballot and exercise their mandate to choose the front runners, the top players for their party in the big battle of 2024. But look, there is so much for us to break down. And Dr. Asa Asante is no stranger to our proceedings here. We thank you so much for making a marathon of it after 3 hours on Newsfile and sticking with us for election headquarters. We are very grateful indeed.
Thank you, Kojo.
Doc.
Pleasure always to be with Joy FM.
Indeed.
The biggest of all.
Doc, there is almost too much for us to talk about, but we'll try and do our best. First, though, a quick update. I told you that 2 people have been arrested in Ningo Prampram for campaigning on election day. Let's pick up the latest from our correspondent.
That he'd raise.
Let's find out who we're looking at. We have images here of a gentleman being put in the back of a police pickup alongside another individual. Let's find out what exactly went down. Joseph Akable joins us via phone. Joseph, these 2 people, what exactly did they do?
In fact, from what we have picked so far, we understand that one is a supporter of Sam George, the other is also a supporter of Michael Kwesi Tete. They are delegates, they were in the queue going to vote, and they were interacting with other delegates. And so they were making the point, vote number 1, the other said vote number 2, vote number 1, vote number 2. Then before everyone could realize, it degenerated into a bit of back and forth and heated exchanges and pushing and shoving of each other. Then the police rushed in quickly and arrested the 2 individuals because it affected the voting process that was taking place. And so the 2 individuals were arrested and put in the police vehicle and taken away. So they could not even vote before that arrest was effected. So they've been taken away to the police station.
Right. So these are two delegates whose mandate now no longer applies because they have been arrested in the process for breaking the rules and also for disturbing the peace, I assume. Now, have any of the candidates for whom they were campaigning had anything to say about this?
Not at this moment. In fact, at the time that it happened, the candidates were not close to that particular incident. So what is happening is that they are trying to mobilize people to come in to vote from different parts of the constituency. So they were not closer to their voting booth when this particular incident happened. But what we understand is that some effort is being undertaken in terms of getting them back here, especially because of the concern that they may not have voted before this particular incident happened and that they were just simply in the queue and engaging them. I think what we are seeing here in terms of the numbers, the police, quite a number of policemen, and you heard Sam George earlier make the point that he had made the request because of intelligence he had picked up about the possibility that the activities in terms of what was taking place here today may be marred by some individuals who he alleges had been paid to come and scuttle the process. But the voting is still ongoing here, and it's one that will be very keen. But could you another very interesting thing that has been happening here? You know, there was a statement from the former president, John Dramani Mahama, indicating some allocation that will be done for 40 cities as transportation for the delegates here to help the delegates. But that distribution has been ongoing since the voting started. And you have over here, the delegates are 1,700. And the individual who is doing the distribution is just one person who has a booklet that has the names of the delegates. And so once you are done voting and you are interested in receiving your 40 cities, you show up in the queue, and once you mention your name, it is taken and you are given the money. And some of the delegates are quite frustrated, saying that the process is not as fast as they want, and they want their 40 cities and want to walk away. So there are moments that also generates a bit of a disturbance once a while. And at a point in time, a policeman was actually asked to intervene to restore calm because the individual who is holding the cash at a point in time was delaying a bit in terms of the distribution, and actually had decided not to distribute it anymore because those were not being patient. And so the police had to move in and restore a bit of calm around that place at that point in time.
That suggests the presence of quite a lot of cash at these electoral points. Is that not a security risk as well?
That is the only distribution that we have cited in terms of money at this particular venue. But yes, it's quite an amount of money because it's 40 cities, and we understand that all 1,700 delegates have their share. And so it's a queue. They are waiting patiently. What happens is that once they finish voting, then they leave the voting area and come to the school building, behind the school building, to form another queue where they wait to get to the front and identify themselves and receive their money.
Well, I know you'll be keeping us updated on this as it unfolds. Joseph Akable there in Ningo Prampram, one of the key battle constituencies during this NDC presidential and parliamentary primaries. Now, let's come back into the studio. Dr. Asa Asante, gracious enough to spend so much time with us today. Doc, these primaries are key. So many new things about it. For example, a number of faces competing quite actively against what we would have imagined to be stalwart, safe, and established candidates, or in fact established MPs, because these are largely NDC, strongholds, like Ningo Prampram. What does the emergence of a Michael Tete with such strength, what does it mean, especially since that is not the only constituency we're seeing such a thing?
Yeah, Kujo, thanks for the opportunity. These things are a function of the growing popularity of political parties and the efforts that they bring to the fore in their constituencies. Take, for instance, Ningo Prampram has been one of the safe seats for the NDC. And over the years, you dare not, from any other party to contest there. NDC will floor you, no doubt about that. So they've been able to build a certain level of credibility and they've sustained it from years to years. If you look at the former MP, that is Mr. E.T. Mensah, he was more or less the god of that land politically, and he did a lot to bring his people up to scratch and the rest of them. After, it was a heated, very fierce contest that Sam George also toppled him, and then he also took over. He has not reneged in his promise to serve his people and serve them well. And he has been a proud ambassador of his people. He has acquitted himself so well in Parliament, gone through all the socialization process, and he has won the admiration of many. So I have no doubt in my mind why the seat is so attractive to people, and that now you have some people also competing strongly with him. It also tells you that the party, when you are in opposition or in government, if you are able to build capacity, you become so attractive. And people who are within the party also now want to step up and take up positions so as to filling the gaps if there exist any. So it's all part of a certain natural branding process that if a party performs so well in a certain constituency, people gravitate towards that party and they want to be part of that success story. It also tells you that, yes, there are people who are also politically energized and want to, at all points in time, want to show their face that, yes, irrespective of the fact that we have certain giants, we can also make impressions because they learn from their predecessors. If you see, nobody gave Sam George any dog chance of winning E.T. Mensah. But we saw what happened. Event took a different turn and he won. And since then, he has also been a giant in that area. So you continue to have that type of thing. And it's a way of galvanizing support for the party and making it more attractive.
I see how this might indicate a growing popularity in politics as a career, if you will, and people wanting to be a part of that story for their parties. The thing that is interesting for me is that they are not taking on just the perceived to be weaker candidates. They're going for the big names. What's behind that? And in some cases, they seem to be, at least until the time the results are announced, they seem to be gathering momentum. What accounts for that? Is there a weakening confidence in those who we might have considered to be stalwarts and,
It's a mix of factors. One, you can see sometimes some of these giants are beginning to lose their shine in their constituency, in the sense that they are not able to deliver the public good. They have been, so to speak, spent forces within those constituencies. Obviously, people want to step into their shoes and then take them off. Two, sometimes to political party campaign and promises. You promise so much and you have not been able to deliver. This is the time we want to show you the exit. Another factor is also the fact that, look, people are learning from the experiences of other constituencies that, yeah, there was this giant, this person, faced him, he was able to topple him, so why can't I give it a try? And sometimes you realize that that type of, feeling gets across the political system, and people begin to use it as a learning curve. Because after all, you don't lose anything when you compete with a giant, but you become somebody more important within the constituency if you're able to compete with such a giant, and even if you don't win, just show a little effort, and the next day you are the best candidate for another constituency or the same constituency. So it's a whole admixture of factors. But in politics, people will move heaven and earth to get political power because of what power does for individual society and the whole country at large. So they will do what we describe in politics, that they will, whatever it takes to win power, they will do it, even if they need to undermine people through character assassination and the rest of them. It's a serious business.
We'll be talking more about the parliamentaries. We'll be going into the specific constituencies where we're expecting drama and action. But let's take a step back and look at the presidential for a moment. Yeah. What on earth happened yesterday? Suddenly, Dr. Dufour, who most people considered to be the more threatening opposition to the former president, pulled out after going to court with an injunction that almost derailed the whole process. So really, that was a flexing of muscle, successfully. Then he withdraws. What's that about?
Yeah, very interesting. Kojo, I must tell you that I worked with Dr. Dufour for 5 years. I was his editor for his heritage newspaper, so I know him so closely. There's a man who has made it in life, very hardworking man, a very honest man, and very forceful. There's no doubt about his contribution within the public service as a former governor, as a banker, and then, finance minister. He has it all, and had a lot of businesses that you can think of. Very hardworking man. But I saw that the context he was going in, my former boss was likely to lose because it was not a battle of just ministers. If you have ministers, then you can rub shoulders. But once you have a former president, the level has moved a bit higher. So that was it. I did not understand that he went to court, withdrew, and then eventually, left the race. There is no doubt that his decision to go to court was right and it was legal. My little worry was that he should have exhausted the internal party structures. That is where you start. And when you don't get the required results, then you move to the court. But having said that, he going to court was not a bad thing. In democracy, everything is anchored on law. So if there are differences and you use cutlass or gun and you rather resort to the court, that's a good thing. He went to court. And then people prevail upon him, and so consultation and all that, he decided to back off and then come into the competition. That was fine. One would have thought that he would maintain his steam and get into the election itself, only to turn around and say that I have dropped. That, for me, what I can see from where I sit was that, one, it was tactically, the managers of Dr. Dufour were not tactical enough. In fact, they miscalculated. Because why am I saying that? In politics, if you are afraid of taking a decision, don't take at all. You better not start. Right? So as he came back from the court to come and contest, he should have gone forward. Yes, but you backing off, it means there was a tactical, move which was not, thought through properly. Electors would obviously going to punish you for that because you created all manner of, uneasy calm within the party. Look at where they put all their billboards. Arrangements were far ahead, far advanced, and people were poised for action. And at the 11th hour, that surprise came, right? People thought that, hey, that was not good enough, even though he was fighting for his right? But later when you said, well, let bygones be bygones, let me move through, you should have carried through. But once you chicken out, the people, remember that you are going to deal with voters where not all of them are literate. Whatever message that is sent out to them, that through propaganda outlets, that yes, you are here to undermine the fortunes of the party, you don't want the process to come on. That is the end. It goes like what? Wildfire. So, seriously, the people, the managers did not look at this option. Two, I also saw from where I sit that the team, Dr. Dufour's team, were not able to examine the political party they find themselves very well. If you look at NDC, over the years, people who have gone to court and have challenged the status quo, the system will throw you out. And it's not only NDC. is for all the political parties. So even if you have a case, you want to approach it in a certain diplomatic manner so as not to incur the wrath of the rank and file within the party, because there is seriously a political cost that you will pay. And they didn't calculate that one well. Yesterday, I was on your network, and then we were looking at the issues, and then Mr. Kukubo was talking about the fact that Dr. Dufo was going to win about 60% in their research. I said, what type of research?
Let's come back to that in a moment, because I'm being told that we can now cross over to the NDC headquarters. My colleague Elton Brobe has been sitting down with a few of their executives and taking their pulse on how things have unfolded so far. Elton joins us live. Elton, on a big day like this, no doubt there is buzz at the headquarters. How are the key members of this party assessing progress so far?
Well, it's been, okay, from here at the national headquarters of the NDC, the environment is quite serene and very calm, because the real action will take place in the evening. Now preparation is underway to host the leadership of the party to bring the curtain down on today's National Delegates Congress. They will have the official declaration for the presidential race here at the NDC's party's headquarters at Adabraka. And then after, I'm sure the jubilation will start from there. What is clear is that we know the person who will be declared winner of the presidential race, and that obviously is the former President John Mahama. What the question, though, on the lips of many is by how much of a margin he will take to win the presidential race, knowing very well that the key contender, or the key contender in the race, pulled out from the race last night, which makes the race even more cooler for the former President John Mahama. Now, some selected individuals are voting here, and the voting has been ongoing quite smoothly. I'll be speaking to the Deputy General Secretary of the party to tell us more about what he's been up and about. We understand that he was in the Eastern region trying to ensure that everything goes smoothly. He is back here in Accra ahead of the official declaration later tonight. But I will also tell you why the Speaker of Parliament, the third most important person in the country, is not voting in today's National Delegates Congress of the NDC. I have that answer for you. The Special Assistant to the Speaker, Mr. Kofi Ato, gave us exclusive as to why the Speaker of Parliament is not participating in today's parliamentary and presidential race of the NDC. That exclusive news is coming your way. But now let me bring in Mr. Mustafa Gande, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the party. Mustafa, you're welcome to join us.
Thank you very much, bro.
How has it been? I understand that you've been out and about Eastern region here, and what really have you been up to?
It's been tiring, but it's worth it. We've been up to ensuring that the processes that we have put in place are really running to, finish up the election successfully. So far, coordinating from what's happening across the country, I think we have a generally peaceful election. The atmosphere is very calm. Progress in various areas, except few places where they had difficulties with the venues, like Ewutu Senya East, but that has been resolved. But apart from that, election is very peaceful so far.
What about the Eastern, where you understand that there were some skirmishes that you had to resolve?
Oh, of course, they had to be some difficulties. As far as we are dealing with human beings and processes, there will be challenges. We had places where the elections started very late. But the way we designed the polling stations, we believe that in the next 2-3 hours, we should be done with the election. Yes.
And then what will happen next? I understand, I see some preparation works ongoing here. What will happen here after the election is closed?
Yes, so as you are aware, we have 2 types of election officers. One at the district level, that's the constituency, and then the other at the national headquarters. The national headquarters is at the behests of the General Secretary of our party, who, in conjunction with the Electoral Commission, will be declaring the winner of the presidential election, and that the constituency elections will be declared by the district elections committees. So for the headquarters, would be expected to announce the winner of the presidential elections before the end of today. Yes.
So the expectation is that the former president and Kojo Bonso, the two main contenders, will make their way here after they are done with their voting.
Yeah, but we on the record, we know that Dr. Kwabena Dufo has withdrawn from the race.
But his name and picture is still on the ballot.
We will still declare the results of 3 aspirants. We want to make sure that if you get 1 vote, that vote should be counted. And so that is what is going to happen. At the end of the day, we will declare results. Whoever wins has won. It will be on record that 3 people have contested for presidential race and 1 person have won. In as much as we had 1 candidate who withdrew from the process. That was at the last minute. And so we still believe that after the election, the national chairman and the general secretary and the party itself has put in place enough preparation to reconcile the party so that we can have a united front going into 2020.
But how did the party take his withdrawal from the race? And in fact, Kojo, and for those who are watching us on Joy News and of course on Joy 99.7 FM, we will get an insight into what went on behind the scenes. Mr. Kofi Ato, who is a special aide of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babem, was part of a 4-member committee or 4-member leadership from the NDC, and they were tasked to meet with Dr. Kwabena Dufo after he withdrew the case from court. And according to him, between 10 a.m. and around 2 to 3 p.m., they met with him. They went through all of his concerns, and they were quite surprised that he pulled out. He will tell us what went into that particular meeting when we bring you that exclusive interview right after I'm done with Mr. Mustafa Bande. But I was asking you, how did the party take the news about his withdrawal few hours to the polls?
No, we've been participating in election. Withdrawing from an election is not itself a strange thing, because people have varied reasons why they will withdraw from elections. And so when you have a candidate who have campaigned for an election withdraws, some personal reasons may have gone through, and that we believe that this is not the first time a candidate have withdrawn from an election. The good thing is that it is not the party that have prevented him from contesting, and that he voluntarily withdrew from the process.
He raised issues about some irregularities he identified in the voters register.
There are no, as far as I'm concerned, there are no pending issues about a register. All the issues that were raised have been resolved. We even invited them.
Including ladies with men's name and men with ladies' pictures.
Those are preliminary errors that was alleged to have been identified. Nonetheless, we have worked on those issues and called them, invited them to come for a complement of the album. Don't forget that they have in their custody a full complement of the delegates list. That was a substantive document on which we're going to rely on voting. And so the album was just a complement. Even that, we had dealt with their concerns and invited them to pick them. So we don't believe that it is the reason he's withdrawn from the contest. But we will take whatever, as the heads, we will take responsibility of the outcome of this election, except to also state that our effort have been to allow for a contest in order to have, as it were, a very little difficulty when it comes to reconciliation. And that has been what we have been up to. And so I believe he withdrew on his own volition.
Now let's focus on some issues that have come up. Let's start from the Western region. A hunter, for example, we are told that they are refusing to participate in the election because of transportation issues. There are issues about some of the delegates being promised 45 Ghana cedis to go to the polling center and vote. I don't know whether this has come to your attention, and what is about these 45 Ghana cedis?
That hasn't come to my attention. I'll take a briefing from the standby team. My boss is not here. And then if that is the case, we'll find a way of resolving same and then we'll move forward.
But generally across the country, you would say that everything is going smoothly.
It has been a very peaceful exercise. And like I always say, the enemy has fallen flat on the ground.
Who is this enemy?
MPP. Their intention and their prayers that we should feel having materialized. And all the schemes that they were doing behind, pulling strings to ensure that we don't have this unprecedented, as activity or process, have failed. A very peaceful exercise. By the close of the day, it is joy for every loyal NDC member that will know our parliamentary candidates, will know our presidential candidates, in readiness for us to go into 2024. So Monday will be the real deal with us and the MPP.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Bagbande is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to speak to him about, because the day is just beginning. Preparation underway here. If my cameraman will just take that shot. Preparation is ongoing here. And the information is that here is where they will have the declaration, the acceptance speeches, the victory speeches for especially the presidential race. So former President John Mahama, who is voting in his home constituency of Bole, will head to Accra after voting. And then in the evening, when the declaration is done, he will come to the party headquarters and then address the party faithfuls. And that for them will signal the fight or the race to the 2024 general elections. But again, I was telling you, Koyo, about my interaction with Mr. Kofi Atto. Mr. Kofi Atto was the chairman of the election committee 4 years ago. Today, he's not playing any significant role. But he's also the special aide to the Speaker of Parliament, Aban Sumana Babem. I spoke to him early on, and the question I asked him, why is the Speaker of Parliament not participating in today's National Delegates Congress of the party to select the party's presidential flag bearer for the 2024 election? Now, he has an answer for me, plus also tell you the kind of conversation that took place between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. between a 4-member committee that was tasked to resolve the differences or the concerns of Dr. Kwabena Dufo. According to him, they met him at the home of the chairman of the Council of Elders of the party, Alhaji Mahama Idriso, and close to 5 hours, they engaged him on his concerns. And then whilst they were preparing to put their report to the national chairman and leadership of the NDC, they heard it on radio and on television that Dr. Kwabena Dufo had withdrawn from the race. He spoke about what went on in this meeting and the surprise of the committee when they got to know that he was no longer taking part in today's presidential race. We can go and listen to that interview.
We will listen to that interview very, very soon, Elton. I can't wait. Absolute exclusive there. I definitely want to know what conversations the party had with Dr. Dufo and how he still pulled out regardless. So Elton will be going back for that. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's dying to find out. But in the meantime, let's very quickly touch base at another of the hotspots in the Asante region. And this is Asawase. One of the very few NDC strongholds in that region. Historically, it's been a race that really has given no challenge to Mohamed Mubarak Muntaka. But it is turning into a battle of the Mubaraks as Mubarak Masaudu brings up some very, very fierce competition this time around. Let's go to Nanayao Jima, as he has been keeping his eye on events there since voting started. Nanayao, this is one we are all paying attention to. The incumbent is not appearing to have an easy ride this time around. How are things unfolding?
Kojo, as you said, it's been very tough here at the Asawase constituency, and as we all predicted, that it's going to be a very, very difficult race for Muntaka Mubarak this time, as he is being contested by Masaud Mubarak. And from the environment and from what we've been seeing here, it looks like it will be a very close contest here. Whoever wins will win with a very, very slim margin. Not long ago, we had Masaud Mubarak walking in here, and he's going through the process to cast his ballot. And when he walked in, the support was massive. A number of the crowd all left wherever they were to follow him and cheer him on as he made his way to the grounds, the election grounds. A number of the people in the constituency have shown support for him, and obviously it looks like it will be a contest that will be close to call, because all you hear here is either change or it's either number 2 or number 1, signaling that it's either the people are for Muntaka Mubarak or for Masamud Mubarak here at the Asonasi constituency. The election delayed for some time. It started about 11:30 due to difficulty in securing election materials for the election. According to the regional executives that I have been speaking to, due to the court action, it delayed the electoral materials reaching the region, and that is one of the reasons why the election was delayed for some time. But as soon as it started, things have been very calm and things have run very smoothly, with 2 polling stations being set up here for the 1,886 delegates who are supposed to vote within the Asonasi constituency. So far, we've recorded a few incidents. There are some people who were willing or who made attempts to take photos of the ballots they cast when they get to the parliamentary ballots. So immediately some people cast their ballot, they wanted to take photos, and the Electoral Commission officials and also the police would not accept that. They vehemently resisted that, which didn't go down with some of these people, and it resulted in some disturbances. The police have not been able to make any arrests so far, but aside these 2 incidents...
Nana, I want you to keep an eye on that particular development for us. We will come back to you for an update, but events are unfolding all across the country, and we have to be like an octopus with tentacles and go everywhere at once. We're going now back to the NDC headquarters, where Elton now has Fifi Kwete, General Secretary of the party, standing by to give us an update from the executive's perspective. Elton?
For example, that the son of Dr. Dufo is taking part in parliamentary primaries today, using the same register that his father is complaining about. That is should clearly tell you that incidentally the father actually is going to the constituency to support his son, the same register that he's complaining about. So that should tell you that there seems to be a bit more than just, let's say it happens sometimes. When you clearly sometimes see that maybe things are not going to go the way you hope. Sometimes you come up with all kinds of excuses.
Yeah. For 2024, looking at what's up.
We are far more, we are ready. We are ready. I mean, we take this as a dress rehearsal, and we would move from here, from strength to strength, and actually learn from some of these to even get much more ready for 2024. We have no choice. The people of Ghana deserve that we are fully ready in order to make sure we restore hope again to this country.
The constituents that are not voting, what is the plan for them?
Yeah, after this, we have the next in front of us is the Kumeu by-election. Then after that, we will now sit and look at the various issues that have not allowed some of them to come on board yet, and then come up with a timetable for them. Our hope is that by the second half of the year, we will be ready to be able to do to complete all those processes.
Secretary, thank you very much.
No, we've not had issues with collating results. I mean, this is a party that had in the past successfully collated results. I myself was in charge of collation of results in 2 major elections in the past, and we did very well. I would say there had been a few problems recent, yeah, but they are not problems that cannot be solved at all. So we will definitely do that. Today really is not a day for saying you want to test your collation, because really 275 constituencies, one venue for election, and if you have 2 or 3 and so on. So it's not so much of a problem. So we won't say this is actually a dress rehearsal for 2024. But I can tell you that we are fully ready. 2024, coalition, everything will be well managed.
Are you going to count his results?
No, we've had formal communication from him, so we've informed the Electoral Commission accordingly. So that means his numbers will not be part of the coalition.
Again, we are hearing claims of inducement. Will you look into these matters and punish the culprits?
Inducement in what way?
People claiming money and other means to get them to vote for a particular candidate, especially in the parliamentary race.
No, knowing this party as I do, I can tell you, money doesn't make the difference. If they are for you, they are for you. If they are not for you, you can't give them anything. They still will not vote for you. I've been in this business long enough to know that it's always here. It's not here. You can give so much here, but if the people are not for you, they simply will still vote against you. So as far as I'm concerned, the will of the delegates will be the legitimate will, and that will come out well.
We'll talk more in the days, in the hours to come.
We will. All right, thanks so much.
So that was the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Kwete, giving us updates on what is happening across the country and what is to come later this evening here at the party headquarters. And I'll tell you what, this place is going to be your center for everything, because we're going to have the candidates, especially those who are competing in the presidential race, come here after voting is done from wherever they are. I know that former President John Mahama is voting in his Bole constituency in the northern region. Kojubonsu, I'm told, is also at Ofinsu in the Ashanti region, where he's also casting his vote. Now, the party has made it clear that they will count the votes as they come on the ballot paper. And on the ballot paper, there are 3 individuals who are bidding to lead the party in the 2024 election. Dr. Kwabena Dufo, Kojubonsu, and then former President John Mahama. Even though Dr. Kwabena Dufo withdrew from the race last night, the party is saying that because his name is still on the ballot paper, they will allow the Electoral Commission to go to the county and declare the results that will come out of it. As you can see, former National Security Coordinator is also going through the voting process to exercise his constitutional mandate of voting. We'll try and see if we can get some few words from him when he is done, and then to engage him. He is voting in the presidential race here at the party headquarters, and former National Security Coordinator of the Republic. And then when he is done, we'll try and speak to him more. I'm just, sir, good afternoon. Have you voted already?
Yeah, I have.
And how did it go?
No,
it's actually good to see you.
You can see it's just cool.
It's actually good to see you. Looking very good.
It's so well organized. I hope all elections will be well organized like this, and then there will be no problem.
Is this some kind of a dress rehearsal going into 2024?
Well, I hope so. I hope so, because it's very well organized. You can see the EC people. They are so well organized. They have done everything, and it's so beautiful. I hope that all elections will be like that.
As a former National Security Coordinator, I'm sure you are getting information from across the country. How's it going for the party?
I think it's going well. It's going well. It's cool and calm, and that is what we want. That's all.
So here you voted for the presidential?
Yeah, I voted for the presidential. There's a slight problem. I voted for the presidential here, but I'm going to my constituency. My constituency is this area anyway. Right. So I'm going to the other place to see, so I can vote for the parliamentary too.
So the expectation was that you should have done the same here.
Yeah, but it looks like it's just presidential here. So I will go there, and then I can think about the parliamentary.
Has Dr. Kwabena Dufo's withdrawal done anything to what is happening today? Has it taken the shine out of today's program?
Well, I don't think so. I think that this is just a normal thing. I mean, the unfolding of party, internal party matters, I don't think that it affects anything. It's normal.
And you think the party will come out of this stronger?
Oh, much, much, much stronger. Dr. Dufo himself will come out of this much, much stronger, and everybody will. It's about the party. You heard him. It's about the party. It's not about any individual.
And going to 2024, somebody with security background, what would you expect going into 2024?
The elections will be calm like this, and that there will be, that they'll be calm like this. Look at the police guys. They're just sitting here. There are no military. There's nobody. Everything is calm. That's what we want to see. The military have no business doing all these kind of job and shooting people. So you see the police is sitting down, the EC people, everything is calm, and that is what it should be. And the citizenry should know that they have that role to play to make things calm.
What should contribute to the calmness?
Our own behavior, our own comportment, and the fact that we should not deploy the military in this with guns to come and shoot people. The police are sitting here. He's not carrying a weapon. Look at the police. He's here quietly. He's not carrying a weapon. He's not shooting anybody. That's what we want to see. We have come through this over the years, and I think that we are matured enough to do it this way. Thank you.
And a lot will depend on the Electoral Commission.
Well, yeah, each has a role. The EC has a role, and all other persons have roles. And I think that everybody should play their role properly.
I guess I'll see you back here in the evening.
Take care.
You have a good day. Right, so former National Security Coordinator is going to vote in the parliamentary race in this constituency here at Adabraka, but he just finished with the presidential race. So, Kojo, we are still some hours away from the real deal here at the party headquarters, and so I'll hand it over back to you in studio for you to engage other reporters from across the country and of course your studio guests. But I guess why the speaker is not participating is something that is pending for you to tell our listeners.
Indeed, we're itching.
So back to you, Koyo.
Thank you. We're itching to bring them that report, Elton, I've got to tell you. So please, wherever you are, even if you need to go and get yourself a cup of tea, make sure you keep the remote with you, because that report will be coming any moment now. Things are still happening across the country, though. And let me tell you what the latest is. More arrests. At the WAEC Hall in Tamale, Martina Bugri reports of the arrest of 2 people who used their phones while voting. Martina joins us over the phone. Martina, what happened?
It's a hot one, I should say. The WAEC Hall, where the federal constituency is having its elections, is one of the hot spots in the region. People, we are told, have been promised motorbikes if they are able to vote and then take shots of their ballot to show the candidate. They are able to get motorbikes. These are the allegations that they are being told. And then because of that, people have tried to take shots. We have had more than 2 people make attempts to take shots. 2 others were able to take shots, but they caught them, took their phones. Unfortunately, or I should say fortunately, they were not arrested. They were asked to write their name, and then they would come back later and take their phones. I spoke to one of the EC officials who would not want to be on record, and she says that because it's an internal election and they don't want to have any issues, because they think that if they begin to arrest and seize these phones, it will create confusion. So they are trying their best to stop people not to have access to their phones when they are entering their booths to vote, so that they can have a peaceful election. I must say that we have so much security here in the hall and outside the hall. We have the military and the police station in the area. They are to help have the elections go on peacefully. Now, this constituency has had 2 very key contestants who most people are looking up to. That is the incumbent MP for the area, APF Husseini, and Atta Isa. These are the 2 people are actually talking about, and these are the people who supported are likely to create confusion at the ground. And so the security is high alert, and so far, nothing untoward has happened.
Find that writing their names is a deterrent enough for those who have been breaking the rules by using their phones? Or are people still attempting to do so? In some cases, willing to give up their phone in exchange for a motorbike?
Yes, people are still attempted. Before I stepped down, somebody had attempted to take a picture, but he was stopped before he could take the picture. They thought he had taken it, and so they went through his phone, but noticed that he had not taken, even though he had pulled out his phone. And so people are still attempting to take pictures when they vote at the center.
Martina, that's fascinating. We'll be coming back to you for more as that unfolds. Listen, this is your election headquarters. Where else will you be hearing in-depth news of what happens inside the ballot box when people try to break the rules? It's all unfolding here, where our guest is Dr. Asa Asante in the studio, and he's giving us lots and lots of insights to these events as they unfold. More from him in a moment, but first, I promised you that we will bring you that in-depth, exclusive conversation Elton Brobe had with Kofi Atto. Now, there are 2 important things here. He will first explain to us why the Speaker of Parliament is not participating in these primary elections, even though he should and he can. Secondly, we are going to find out exactly what conversation the party delegation had with Dr. Dufour, which led to him withdrawing the court case, but strangely, withdrawing from the whole race a few hours later. Let's find out.
Of voting to decide who lead the NDC in the presidential race. Mr. Atto, welcome to joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. 4 years ago,
4 years.
Exactly 4 years ago, we had this interview right in front of the and then 4 years back we are here.
I was the chairman of the election committee, and I spent all my time here. But not this year. This year, I'm voting here, but I'm not part of the election committee.
You are not part of the election committee?
No.
Great. But you just went through the process?
Yes, I did. It went well.
Yes.
It's only a few people are really voting at the head office. There's a list, Council of Elders, some members of the executive. A lot more people have gone to their constituencies. But I had a number of assignments in Accra today, so I decided to vote here.
The road to this day was quite bumpy, but after everything, it's smooth now. Were you involved in any way to get these matters resolved before today?
I was part of a 4-member team that met Dr. Dufour's group around this time. We met from about 11 to 2 o'clock in the chairman of Council of Elders house. So I was part of the team from head office. The chairman, myself, then the former speaker, myself, the chairman, and the former speaker, and Totobi. Yes, we met Dr. Dufour, brought about 14 people, and we had a lengthy discussion for almost 3 hours.
What was that about?
I didn't know
he had pulled out from the court issue?
Yes, from the court we went there. I mean, the idea was that from the court we'll sit down and talk about the issues, because no issue was raised in the court at all. In the court, they just withdrew. So we agreed that we were going to meet with them. The issue that they raised most was that about the register.
Right.
So we concluded that they would come here and meet the technical team here and sort it out, because they were talking about the register and the album and some differences. And we were told by this group that everything had been sorted out. So we agreed at that meeting that from the meeting they will come and meet the technical team here and sort it out. That was the next thing I heard was a press conference that they were withdrawing.
So you were surprised when you heard that he was pulling out of the race?
Yeah, because I thought we had gone very far with that discussion. We couldn't take any decision there because the issues that they were raising, we thought that if they bring their laptops, and we also brought our laptops, they will just streamline. We assured them that this list was not a list that was just going to be used for the presidential election. It's a list also that we're using for parliamentary election. And you see, all these candidates have their people. The list cannot be flawed too much. In fact, there's always a little problem with every list. But you can imagine my constituency, whole center. Right. There are 7 people contesting. And there's no way you bring a list that they will not have agreed on. And when they agree, that same list is the list that is used for the presidential election. So we're trying to explain. But we came to a very cordial conclusion. We even took a picture together. It was making the rounds all over the place. Yeah. So we proceeded here, and later on, I met the Kakra, who was in charge of election here, and they were waiting for a group to come so that they sort it out. And I went to do other things. The last time I was listening to news, I heard they had stepped out. So, but our worry then was whether we could go. But from 10 o'clock, when the court case was withdrawn, we needed to now focus on the electoral commission to make sure that they could move the material. That was there, because we had done everything with the electoral commission. Everything had been printed. The list was given to them. Everything. It was just a matter of moving. And when they were about to move on Tuesday or Wednesday, then this injunction came. And it was not even an injunction, a notice that there will be a hearing on Monday. And the electoral commission quickly called us and told us that getting that notice, if they took action, it would be against the rules. So we had to wait from that time until Friday 10 o'clock. But I'm impressed they were able to, because monitoring the news is happening everywhere, and I think that's okay.
But will you say that when you met Dr. Kwabena Dufour together with other members of the team, the issues that he'd raised, are these issues that for you were legitimate, that needed to be looked into?
Yeah, they were talking on the list, so we needed to look at it. He said different lists were sent to them. But we needed, and our people were insisting that it was one list. So I thought that we thought that we have been working on this list, and yeah, it's the same list that we use for the constituency elections, regional elections, national elections. So it will not deviate too much from the correct line. I mean, people might have died, but we agreed that nobody on its own can replace anybody on the list. So if you are dead, then you don't vote. So if there were some problems that they were raising, I mean, certainly we thought that it was but we didn't think that it was such a massive thing and could undermine the elections. No.
It looks like he took the decision that he was no longer going to participate in the elections, still raising issues about the list. And that's the reason. So beyond today, will you still meet him, get him involved so that the party move forward?
Of course, yes. You remember the last 4 years, you know, one of the contestants to President Mahama was Joshua Labi. Right. Yeah, but you know, he became his just after the election, we went around all the 5 of them, and then we constituted the committees that had to be constituted. We put some of them, even in the political committee. We brought all of them together, and we had a big meeting with John Mahama. We'll do that. We are ready to do that. We cannot throw him and the people who were with him. No, these are our comrades. These are our comrades that we started with, Yao Jan and Co. I mean, if these are not people we are ready to throw away at all. After this, I'm sure this meeting will begin as early as possible next week, because you see, we have a bigger task. Yeah. These are just the rehearsals.
But again, let me ask you a final question before you go. Last 4 years when we met, yes, one of the contestants was the current Speaker of Parliament, Abambabem.
Yes.
Today is the Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. You serve
special advisor.
Yes. So he's still a member of the NDC, right?
Of course.
Is he voting in today's Congress?
He's not in town, unfortunately. His duties have taken him out of town. By the time he arrives, either tonight or something, this thing ends at 4. Yeah. But it doesn't really matter. So,
would he have voted if he was in Ghana?
He would have voted. Because these votes are secret. Nobody will know who is voting for. He would have voted, but he's not in town. So, but he's truly and fully and practically a member of NDC. Yeah.
I guess we'll meet again in the evening to hear the victory speeches and all that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're still on Joy News. And again, let us exclusively, you are hearing that the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Abambabem, is not in town. The reason why you may not see him vote in this Delegates Congress of the NDC to decide who lead the party in the 2024 election and the 275 parliamentary candidates that they will be coming up with. But Dr. Peter Otukono, he's also been involved in elections before, so you know the feeling towards the declaration, the voting, and all that. But today, I think the stress level is very low because his name is not on any of the ballot papers. But he's here with us to share with us some experience and to tell us what we should expect going forward. Doctor, you're welcome to Joy News.
Ethan, good to have you.
You seem very relaxed.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I see that on your face.
Maybe I think I've become an expert in managing stress. Because whilst the economy stresses us, I mean, the work also stresses us some more. But I've been heavily involved in these elections. I'm part of the President Mahama's team managing the elections. So it's been a very hectic one. And we are now wrapping it up. I mean, as the vote is underway, we would need to put the final touches to what we have put in place to make sure that we harness the votes and declare him the flag bearer of the NDC and the next president of the Republic. So it has not been easy like that.
So what are you looking at? 99%, 100%, 95, 96, 97?
Well, I am not anticipating anything less than 98%. In essence, I'm looking at something beyond 99, but I don't think that it will go below, I mean, the lowest, 98%. And it is symptomatic of the failing of the people in this country. And it is not because President Mahama has campaigned or the NDC people want President Mahama. It is because it is the failing of the entire nation. It's the mood of the nation. The mood of the nation is President Mahama. And that is why President Mahama will emerge with an overwhelming endorsement. I had not seen this as a contest at all. It has not been a contest. I mean, in actual fact, it has not been a contest. It has just been an endorsement process. And in an endorsement process, certainly there will be some outliers. Some would deviate. And that is why perhaps you have some one or two people also contesting in the elections. But I believe that it's an endorsement process.
I just spoke to Mr. Kofi Atto. He said that he was part of a 4-member team that was tasked by the leadership of the NDC to meet with Dr. Kwabena Duffuor after he had withdrawn the case from court, and to understand his concerns and see how best the party would come to some understanding in resolving them. And he was quite surprised when, after meeting with him from 11 a.m. to around 3 p.m., he heard the news that the man had withdrawn from the race. How did you receive that news?
Well, Principal Comrade Kofi Atto couldn't have said it any better. And he couldn't have said it any better because weren't you surprised as well? I mean, we all felt that going to court and withdrawing the court matter, having to engage the Council of Elders and the senior people in the party and coming to a conclusion and the preparations going on, one would have expected that Dr. Duffuor would, I mean, fully commit himself to the final process. Indeed, I don't consider that Dr. Duffuor withdrew from the elections because you have done all the campaign, you have filed the day before the elections. His name is still on the ballot paper. His name is there, so he's actually in the contest, and I don't know in which essence that would consider that he didn't participate in the elections. He actually participated in the elections, and people, I'm sure, he will get some 1 or 2 votes from across the country. So, I mean, it has not been the case that he dropped out of the elections, and I am surprised as well. But again, the reasons may be obvious that the people of this country and the NDC are resolved, and wherever Dr. Duffuor went, wherever Kojo Bonsu went during their campaign, they were told that, look, we want President Mahama. Why are you doing this? Why are you wasting everybody's time? President Mahama is our next president. President Mahama should be our next leader. So I'm sure those words, those counsel from the party people, maybe finally gained roots in the heart of Dr. Duffuor, and he had to make that last-minute decision. But I guess it was late. But again, better late than never, I think.
Thank you very much, Dr. Otukono. I'm guessing that we'll see you in the evening for the victory speeches and all that here.
Already I'm in the jubilant mood, and you could see that I'm in white. So I am not anticipating anything otherwise. And we are really going to jubilate. But most importantly, the best jubilation will be in 2024 when President Mahama is declared the President of the Republic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Otukono. And let's just bring you more sound bites from the NDC headquarters here.
So that is what happened when Elton interacted with Kofi Atto and, of course, Peter Otukono. So now you know. That's what the party discussed with Dr. Duffuor, making it even more of a mystery why he decided to withdraw afterwards. Dr. Asante is with us here in the studio, and we've been analyzing exactly that, Dr. Duffuor's decision to withdraw. Now, there are implications here because his son is still contesting in Seche Afram Plains. Yeah. How will this affect his son's fortunes there?
Seriously, it's going to be an interesting contest. Why am I saying that? Dr. Duffuor's brother, younger brother, is also contesting.
He's also there, yes.
So an uncle and a nephew contesting. And this is a constituency which is close to Dr. Duffuor's, hometown, Kumewu. So it's going to be interesting. Votes are going to be divided because you have these two people from the same family competing for vote. And mind you, Duffuor is very popular in Kumeru and its environs, very, very, because of his association with them, support for them, and the rest of them. And it's not today. He has been a giant in the eyes of those people there. So they hold him so high. That is going to, so that, aura around him, if you like, is going to affect the brother and the son. But that constituency, I have undertaken a research there. It's one of the difficult constituencies in this country. Yes, if you are going there. And there are a lot of things that are the need in the constituency. For instance, issue of even road network is a difficulty. Access to other places is a constituency that Ashantis are predominant in the area, but there are also satellite farmers also in there. So it's going to impact on the chemistry of the whole process there. And we are to expect interesting, especially from the nephew and the uncle. It's going to be interesting, very, very interesting.
I'm putting myself in the shoes of a delegate in Setra Afram Plains. The presidential candidates spend a lot of time going around and schmoozing the delegates, making them promises, not just of financial gain, but of their problems being solved if they are to come into power. Dr. Dufo, after making all of these promises, as we expect he will make, then withdraws. As a delegate, how would that make you see his son, or to a lesser extent his brother, who are also making those promises, in exchange for your vote at their level?
I get the important.
Are they going to start feeling like maybe, look, this is a waste of time?
Let us remember that they are individuals and they carry their own individual cross. Right? So they are going to judge them based on how they know each one of them, how they have been able to, win their confidence. That is what is going to play out. For the MP, his work is going to be more in the sense that he has been the MP, so they expect that before coming to them for a renewal of his mandate or not, he should be able to have satisfied them in a certain way in terms of last election, the promises he made to them. This is the time that proper assessment is going to be done by the delegate. Interestingly, this is not ordinary people who are going to vote. These are delegates who are seated in that constituency, who knows everything. So
indeed. Now, Doc, if you don't mind, another thing has just happened. Let's go check out what's going on in a constituency that is not so far from Setra Afram Plains, Ejura Setre Dumasi. Now, this is a hot spot. Our very own Nana Boache Iadom is there. But guess what has just happened? So, Bawa Brima has a contender, his main contender, Juliana Kinang Wasang, has been seen blowing out cash to delegates at Ejura Setre Dumasi Electoral Center. Nana Boache Iadom is there. Let's find out more. Nana, what are we looking at? Is that money flying through the air? And who is the one throwing it?
Is the main contender of Honorable Bawa. Her name is Juliana. She is said to be the main contender of Honorable Bawa, the current Member of Parliament for Ejura Setre Dumasi. In fact, she had the triumphant entry with so many delegates coming along with her. But when she got into the park or onto the park, the field where the election is going on, she started blowing cash to delegates. In fact, there was a mad rush for cash over here at the Setre Dumasi Almadia School Park, where the NDC delegate election is going on. In fact, it was in the midst of the MP, the Honorable Bawa, and the three other contenders where she started blowing cash, 50 cedis notes. You could count 100 cedis notes. You could count 500 cedis, 500 cedis, that's 50 Ghana cedis, sorry, and then 10 Ghana cedis. You could count 5 cedis notes. She was blowing it all around to some of these delegates here. And then the delegates were jamming up for these cash, the money she was blowing out. You can see for yourself, it was so much money she was throwing out to the delegates. In fact, initially, when it started, I was far taking my shots. But when I got to it, was sharing the cash herself. You cannot deny the fact that it is her sharing the cash herself and not someone else. In fact, any other person with me would doubt that she was doing it herself. But when I got closer, I realized that it was her sharing the money, as you can see in your shot. So, in fact, as he said, Setro Dumase is a very, very huge hotspot. This is a hotspot and it's not going to be an easy race for the Honorable Member of Parliament, the Honorable Brian Bauer, who is already seated. He's the first person to cast his vote. He has done that already. The other contenders have also cast their vote, including the main contender, Juliana. She's also seated not far away from the Honorable Member of Parliament. But then, yes, it is going to be a war of cash blowing, because right after Juliana was seen throwing cash, we saw Honorable Bauer and then other contenders also moving straight to their cars. What they picked out of their cars are huge bags. We cannot determine if they are cash, but then you can see them in my shot seated over here. That is the lady. Her name is Juliana, and then she's also a contender. And then this is the Honorable Member of Parliament for the Setro Dumase constituency, the Honorable Bauer. Honorable, you are live on the Joy News channel, your election headquarters. We want to find out from you. Are you worried with the way your opponents were blowing cash to the delegates?
I am not worried about my delegates doing cash. That cannot sway the delegates. That cannot change anything. I cannot change the status quo. Today, the status quo is going to be maintained. It's just an endorsement. They are only accompanying Honorable Mama Bauer.
Honorable, but
it is not the best. It is not the best. Even it is against the teachings of our religion. We don't do that. Money is a valuable item. We don't throw valuable stuff away. But for being disturbed about anything, the status quo is going to be maintained. I'm not the least better. It's just, I'm telling you, at the end of this exercise, it's going to be a landslide. Just that.
Honorable, are you sure and optimistic that you're winning this hands down?
Oh.
Regardless of what we've seen today?
Regardless of what? What have you seen? You haven't seen anything. You didn't see my entrance. What I'm saying is, the delegates of a Setro, they know the one who has set the soul and body of the party. That has made the party attractive for people to leave their places to come here. Since we went into opposition, I have single-handedly managed and financed this party and made it the most vibrant party in Setro, despite me being in opposition. We have two vibrant political parties here. The NPP who are in power, their party is also attractive in the draft, like the NDC. And I told you, I took over this seat from the NPP in 2016. I did not get it. I kept fighting to take it back. When the seat went to that, for the difference of 1,700. So people who are not like that. It is the personality of Honorable Mama. In 2020, I even had more votes than President Mama. That tells you the kind of person that is contesting this seat. And so the status quo is going to be maintained. Nothing is going to change. It is still the name Honorable Alhaji Mohammed that is going to come onto the ballot paper come 2020.
Honorable, so you mean regardless of who is going to win today's election, if it is not you, NDC is not winning the 2024 parliamentary seat for Setro Dumase?
But the delegates know that it is me. And if it's not me, then the seat, we risk losing the seat. And so they will not make that mistake. You get what I'm saying? They will not make that mistake. So, I mean, voting has just started. So let's give ourselves some few hours. And now can we to everybody.
No, are you okay with the process, the electoral process so far?
So far, so good. Just that I was just a bit worried about the delay in the arrival of the election materials. I'm disappointed in it because we already gave time to each and everybody. I believe the election materials had arrived at the time that was supposed to start at 7. I believe by now this exercise will have been over.
All right, Honorable, thank you very much for engaging with us.
Thank you.
Right. So that is Honorable Brimer. According to him, this is just a mere election of his endorsement. It's going to be an endorsement for him. But this is another contender of Honorable Brimer. I want to find out from him if he is ready for today's election. Honorable, are you not bothered with regards to how your opponent was blowing cash to the delegates?
No prasa samari kwanta no prasa samari kwanta
Nana Bwachi Adam, can you hear me? Nana, if you can hear me, I would love you to ask the candidate, Juliana Kinang-Wasan, whether she is aware that distributing cash on the day of the election or at any other time breaks the rules.
Honorable, we want to find out from you. Are you aware that blowing of cash on election day is against the rules of your party?
She's saying, if you can hear us, Nanaya, we can't hear the candidate. Please let her repeat herself. Right, we apologize. We seem to be having an audio issue here. We're trying to get an answer from Juliana Kinang-Wasan, who is a contender for a parliamentary candidate of the NDC in Ejura Sechere Dumase. This is a place you will remember quite clearly. It was the site of violence during some protests following the killing of a young man who identified himself as a Fix the Country campaigner. And this led to a committee sitting to look into it. Nana Bwachi Yadom is there for us, and he's trying to speak to one of the contenders who was throwing cash at the crowd of delegates, trying to find out if she's aware that that breaks the rules. Nana Bwachi Yadom, if we can hear from the candidate one more time.
All right, so I'll engage with her one more time and find out if she. Well, the security guard says he's refusing to let me speak to her. But earlier, what she said is that she decided to blow the cash when she realized it was on her car, and we are only left to believe what she's saying. But that's what she told me.
She realized
saw the
it
money
was
on her
what?
car, and she had to blow it out.
She realized she had money in her car, so she decided to throw it to the crowd. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly, Kwejo. That's what she said. She said she saw the money on her car, so she decided to blow it out to the delegates.
Nana, as soon as possible, if you can get access to some party officials on the scene, we would very much like to hear their take on this, whether indeed they recognize that their own rules have been broken. We will also engage with officials at the national headquarters to get their ruling on that. But until then, thank you very much, Nana Bwachi Yadom, for that update. And that is what you just saw live on your screens. One of the contenders for parliamentary candidate of the NDC in Ejura Sechere Dumase, Juliana Kinang-Wasan, telling us that she discovered that she had some money in her car. So she decided to throw the money to the crowd of delegates, which she did on election day at the electoral grounds, before taking her seat. And you see her there sitting serenely with her security, who prevented us from speaking to her a second time. We're definitely going to keep an eye on that one for you. We'll be getting the take of the political party executives on what just unfolded. Before we go anywhere else, Dr. Asa Asante, you saw it.
Yes. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. And it's a manifestation of monetization that we have in Ghanaian politics. That people will not do the hard spade work, as in, your strategy, your message, the rest of them. But they want to go the easy way by doling out cash, throwing on people and all that. I was surprised that the security people were looking on concern. They should have arrested her because this is a crime. You don't do that. It's against the electoral rules. And I don't understand why police officers will be there whilst people break the law with impunity. If what I saw, that they were there, they were in the scene, they should have arrested her.
Right.
Because that was very wrong.
I want to know more, please. Don't forget, I know you've made some notes there. But we can go to Asawase now, where Muntaka Mubarak, Honourable Member of Parliament for that constituency, also running again, hoping to represent his party, is now addressing the press. Let's hear him quickly before we come back. A bit of a mobbing by the press of Dr. Muntaka Mubarak. All of them attempting to...
And I know by the case of Baba, they will reward me this evening.
How tough has this been for you, this contest?
Well, I tell you, if you notice, have you been hearing me on radio? I just came for a week to campaign. Because for me, it was just much about doing nothing. It's just about shouting and making promises that you cannot even imagine. Just like Nanado is saying, can you imagine a parliamentary candidate telling people that he will take 206 of them in 4 years to abroad? And people want to believe that. Somebody who just says anything, he himself is not credible. He's not even finished school. He has never done any work. All of a sudden, he has money and he's distributing. And I think the people of Ashanti do not know the value of what I have done for them over the 2 decades that I have served them. I know by the grace of God, they will surely reward me by this event.
When people say you've been going unopposed and you feel so comfortable, but
it's not true. It's never true. If you remember, even when I was asked to resign from my work in 2005 to contest, when I came, then the deputy national organizer contested me and I beat him. And in 2007, he came again, still deputy national organizer of our party, who have been a chairman of this constituency, who have been regional organizer for this region, and deputy national organizer, my own senior brother, Alhaji Audu Arif. He came again in 2007, and I beat him. Then in 2012, lawyer Anis came, and I beat him. It was only in 2016 when they said the whole constituency should vote. People knowing what I have done, and therefore it is not about just some few people. Everybody backed off. And then in 2020, this young man came and disqualified himself because the party has rules, and he was disqualified. So if people are saying that I've always been going unopposed, that's not a lie. It shows that they clearly don't even know the history of the constituency.
Honorable, there's news. You just mentioned that he's going around paying money to the delegates to vote for him. There's also information that you are doing same. How true is that?
Since morning, I'm stepping out of my house for the first time. So if everybody's telling somebody's paying money, try and find out who is paying money. Thank you very much.
All right, so that was the incumbent member of parliament for Ashanti constituency, Muntaka Mubarak. He arrived minutes ago and he received cheers from the crowd here. What he has been saying is that he believes that he is still in the lead. This is no contest for him. This is not the first time he's facing such a contest, and he very excited by the support he has received so far. He's saying that he has campaigned for just a week.
Right. We apologize for the poor quality of audio there. Our connection seems to be suffering. But you heard Muntaka Mubarak speaking to our correspondent and indeed answering some allegations of money sharing. It seems to be a lot of that going round, literally, in the Ashanti region, as Ijra Secretary Dumasi candidate was doing exactly the same. You were giving us your analysis of that, Dr.
Yes.
Asar-Asante.
I said that it was wrong because the laws governing elections frown on that. He should have been arrested on the spot for breaking the rules. It brings to the fore the issue of lack of education about the do's and don'ts about elections. So there's a message that goes to political parties, first and foremost, that they should continue their effort to give electoral education to their people. Not only do you always want to win souls, get more people into their fold, but you educate them. That is not to say that the NDC has not been doing, but they need to strengthen that and then give people to understand what is expected of them when they put themselves up for positions like that. It also brings us to bring to our attention the issue of lack of message. If you have message, you don't need to dole out any money to anybody because people can take your money and they will not vote for you. The fact that people are struggling, that people want to follow you just to get some few cedis in their pocket doesn't mean they are going to vote for you. So political parties or actors must learn and then imbibe that culture where they get people to develop message for them, and the messages are born out of the needs of the constituency. Once you are familiar with the terrain of the constituency and you are able to know their problems, you develop messages around them and then you articulate them. And those who gravitate towards that will vote for you. It's something that is missing. And of course, what they were doing was likely to bring chaos to be brought to bear on the situation there. And it's also part of electoral machinery that if you have a political party, one of the things that you want to prevent is chaos. So far, the NDC election have been, the few places we've seen have been so smooth, quiet, and there is no incident. So something like this is nothing but ugly spectacle, and it doesn't bode well for the party, which has done everything possible to make sure that the election proceeds smoothly and clean. So all in all, that constituency was a blot, given what we have signed. But my joy was the countenance of the MP there, Mr. Bauer, taking it cool. He believes that what he has put down there will work for him. That's the spirit of democracy, that once you have done your homework well, you wait for the people to decide for you or decide against you. And election is not do or die affair, and that you must be prepared for any outcome. You either win or lose. But whatever happens, at the end of the day, it is the party you serve well. If you continue to be in the party, your day will come. And all these things you need to be able to learn effectively from the constituency, know their problems, be part of the solution, and I tell you, anytime you knock at their door, they will not turn their back at you.
Well, we're going to be seeing more images from across the country as these elections unfold. The parliamentary elections holding so much interest in particular hotspots where the outcome cannot be seen from the beginning due to the keen nature of the competition. We'll be taking you around to all of those. One of them, indeed, is Ijura Setre Dumase, where we saw money flying through the air from the hands of the strongest contender to the incumbent. And of course, we will be bringing you what the national executive officers have to say about that development, whether indeed it goes against their electoral guidelines or not. But confusion continues in Nkwanta South as aspirants and supporters nearly exchange blows. Let's talk to Patience Teria, who has been covering this for us in that area. Patience, how did things get so violent so quickly?
Okay, let me say a very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. And as we all know, Nkwanta, the election kicked off somehow 8 a.m. in the morning, and as I'm speaking right now, there was one branch who's supposed to cast their vote. So as the voting ongoing, according to the party's directions, on the ground, there shouldn't be any kind of campaign. But one of the aspirants agents started doing campaign, and then the second one, we have two contestants in Nkwantasaw, the incumbent MP, and then one aspirant, which is Mr. Narayana Charles. So as the campaign started going on, the other aspirant, which is the incumbent MP, his agents also started doing campaign. That caused the confusion. But as we speak now, security agents have and then currently the voting has come to an end. But there is security very tight in this place.
You mean the voting has concluded or they had to stop it?
Currently, in some few minutes ago, the voting has ended.
Delegate has voted?
Yes, please.
Right, okay. Then, of course, there is no further risk of violence during the election process.
Yes, for now, due to the security being here, they have stick to the situation that all those who are supposed to vote as at that time, because there was a branch who refused voting due to the confusion, but all camps have been restored.
Anybody arrested for the violence?
There was no arrest.
Okay, Patience.
There was no arrest.
Patience, thank you very much for that update.
You're welcome.
From Nkwanta South. Well, thankfully, they've managed to bring the voting to a close. So there's no further risk of violence there. Stay with us. This is your election headquarters. And already, I mean, we've been together for just about 2 hours, but already the drama is quite remarkable. Now, I don't want you to have anything remaining that you haven't had a chance to say about this incident at Sechedumase.
Yes. As I was saying, some of these things, the earlier we corrected this, the better. Because you are going for the national election come 2024. These are things that the political actors must take note of, and the security people, so that you don't nurture it and it blossom into something that you and I are not interested in. So I think the security people will do the needful by picking all these things and then deal with them appropriately. We also urge voters that anybody who brings money to influence any voter, it tells you that the person, in effect, is insulting you, your intelligence, your everything. That yes, what you are going to do, I'm going to pay for it. And after that, can you hold that person accountable for policies, programs in that area if he wins the day? No. Anybody who brings money in there is not ready for your vote. I believe that such people must be voted against massively. Once we drum this message in the ears of people and it gets stuck into their ears, it's going to do the magic for us in this country. We have to move away from monetization of politics with all its attendant problem of violence, conflicts, and then disturbances in a constituency. Constituencies have their problems. That's why you want to go there. Be in tune with their problem. Develop reasonable messages that will address the problems for them, and then get their nod. Come to office and execute them. If the people really want to maintain you, they will maintain you. If they want to throw you out, you go in peace. And it shouldn't be the end of the world. In this country, what I have seen is that elections has turned out to be what a do or die affair. It's simply because of the political capital that people get, the economic benefit associated with it. It tells us that we have a bigger picture, bigger problem. The problem is that we need to do more to open the economic frontiers of this country to more people, young people, the rest of them, so that you see politics as a service, but it's not an area where you are going to make money and then you're going to make ends meet. It's a service. More people who are going in there is not necessarily the service of the people. but they believe that that is the easy way out to make money. And those things must be or disabused in the minds of those who are lacing their boots to be contestants one day.
I wonder what it means for those who were clearly supporting her. They clearly, she clearly drew a crowd.
Yes.
What does it mean for those who are expecting to choose a representative who is going to, like you said, help solve their problems and all that? Will this not rather be interpreted in the minds of the delegates as a proof of concept that this person can indeed, fulfill their wishes, that she has enough money to make their dreams come true?
It's something that we see in Ghanaian politics, but the literature doesn't support that. Because if you want to follow the argument along that line, then you want to say that any rich person who contests for election obviously will win. Has it been the case? There are instances, and more often than not, people even walk to the homes of people and say, Kojo, we want you to contest for us. Stand in our name. We are ready to campaign for you and the rest of them. What are they gaining? They believe in the person who is going to contest. They believe that he has what it takes to lead them and then help them to address their problems. I think that is the way out there. Yes, you can pull crowd. If you are sharing money, obviously, people even who do not even belong to that constituency and they are there to watch how things unfold and all that, they will jump into it and then take the money. But as to whether they will vote for you, it's another thing. And yes, it is true, I admit, that to some extent money influences election in a certain way. But to a large extent, it is not money, but other factors that are so dear to the hearts of the people in that specific constituency. Because remember that is a wearer of a shoe who knows where it pinches. It is not necessarily the case that once you have money, people are going to vote for you. People want market to be fixed. People want their road to be fixed. People want potable water. People want access to market. These are things that are so germane that they want to gravitate towards. And they want people who have what it takes to address this to give them their vote.
Okay. Your election headquarters continues to take you around all the hot spots, and Ningo Prampram is certainly one of them. Sam George coming up against somebody who, for the first time, is posing quite a healthy competition to him, Michael Kwete Tete. But the elections have not been without incident. Let's go back there right now to find out how some people were stopped from voting because they were not qualified. Watch this. Right, so scenes of pandemonium in Ningo Prampram as some people are being prevented from voting because they are believed to not be qualified. Joseph Akable joins us over the phone. He's on the ground. Joseph, on what grounds are these people deemed unqualified?
The claim by some of the delegates here is that these are individuals who are not on the delegate list. And so once they saw them in the queue, they quickly proceeded to try and remove them from the queue themselves. And so, I mean, what happened is that the other group, there are just two camps here. So once they believe that you are trying to prevent other members of a certain camp from voting. Then you have the other camp members also coming in to try and intervene. Why are you not allowing our people to vote? So that is what started or resulted in that shoving and the pushing that we saw in those pictures that were rolling on the streets a short while ago. And so the police had to come in. And the issue was that it was difficult to tell at that point in time whether these are individuals who were eligible to vote or not. And so the conclusion I was taking was that the individuals in question whose eligibility were an issue were taken out of the place and moved away from there. The understanding is that they should just take their time and be at the back. Eventually, there's a list that is being used at the front. And so later on, when they get closer to that point and they are actually not on that list, it will be determined. And so there's no point in trying to take them out of the queue. So the police have to just move them away from the queue for the time being.
Right. How many people are deemed unqualified? Approximately how many people are involved?
In fact, it's difficult to tell. It's because it started with the reference to one individual who was in the queue. That's how it started. And so when the person said that this guy is not eligible to vote, he's not in the list, then the other guy said that he's in the list, then the back and forth started. And so before we realized, there were now accusations and counter-accusations on the fact that a certain number of people are not eligible to vote. So it was difficult to tell what specific number was an issue at that point in time. Except that we realized that at least about 4 people were moved away from the queue, and that calmed tensions a bit. And so the police said that just be patient and wait, and that we are all here. It's a process that is ongoing. Whatever happens, when they get closer to the police itself, in terms of the issue officials, it will be a matter that will be resolved. And so that was something that was acceptable to disputing factions. And so they agreed to that, and there was a bit of calm restored. And as I speak to you now, it's relatively calmer, and just have people who are in the queue waiting to have their turn.
Well, listen, keep an eye on that for us. We'll certainly come back to find out whether these individuals were verified eventually and were able to vote as delegates. Thank you so much, Joseph Akable from Ningo Prampram. It's going to be like this. It's going to be like this all day long. There are bound to be issues that need to be straightened out across the country. No process can be completed without any such incidents. But how do you assess so far the standard of operation of the NDC in bringing this election to being?
Yeah, the few that we have seen, one thing is clear, that apart from this few incidents, those who are really voting have comported themselves very well. The party machinery is seen, is manifesting that the real work regarding the management of the electoral process, they've been able to done so well in that regard. The issue of violence, the issue of throwing of money to delegates and the rest of them is a function of political education that need to be strengthened as part of the process for the political parties. What we are seeing about the issue of this person's name is not in the register and all that, the way forward to this problem is when the parties must begin towards strengthening the digitization process of all these things. And then the verification of some of these things must be done far ahead of time so that people will know from day one that my name is in the register, I am qualified to do it. And then on that day, some of these incidents may come up, but they can be dealt with easily. Another thing that I also find it worth mentioning here is that if you look at other jurisdictions all over the world, now parties are moving into what we call electoral security, where the party themselves are building a certain security network so as to stem the tide of some of these things. And it's important that some of these things can be incorporated into our system to make it a little solid so as to, avoid some of these incidents. But having said all this, so far, I think that the party is not doing badly at all. It's moving on.
Well, inducements of any kind are certainly not permitted during these elections. But our very own David Andor joins us over the phone because a truck loaded with rice has been spotted at a polling station in Dome Abra Obum constituency. David, tell us exactly what you've seen.
Well, let me talk about the voting general here. In fact, it started late, but voting has been very exciting and peaceful. And you could see delegates are smiling, shaking hands with each other. And their motivation is some of the aspirants have promised them, some of them are, giving them, let's say, food, rice, and other stuff. But there is this one particular aspirant, the young guy, very nice young guy. He is Richard Ni Aye Ashley. And the guy has mounted a giant picture of him in the front of a Kia truck loaded with bags of rice. And some of the delegates told me off air that when they vote for that aspirant to win, the rice I see here will be shared among them. And others are also saying that, they don't believe that when they vote for him and he will share these items among them. So, in fact, this polling center or voting center, voting has been very, peaceful and exciting. Delegates are happy, and I suspect maybe their motivation is what the aspirants have promised them or given them.
David, have you seen the aspirants themselves there today?
Yeah, you see them, sometimes you see them here, and you will never see them again, and you see them sometimes, you see them talking to their, supporters. They are not available for interview. Apart from when I got here earlier and I was able to speak to some of them, the rest, if you call them for interview, they are busy. But the delegates themselves, they are happy. They are happy with each other. When you see they are shaking hands, they are chatting, and everything is going on so smoothly and very exciting here.
All right. Well, David, I hope you keep an eye on this, and if any bags of rice starts being distributed, I hope you'll be there with your cameras to capture them. That's our very own David Andor reporting there. This is the story that indeed at this particular constituency, which is known as Dome Abra Obum constituency, a truck loaded with rice has been spotted parked at a polling station with the picture of one of the aspirants pasted on the truck filled with rice. Yep, that happened. Okay, I don't know. I don't even know where to start with this one.
Yes, this is what we call in political science, who get what, when and how, where people are using all resources, all means necessary to achieve their ends. It happens in politics. It's not a good thing, and it creates uneven, environment for political actors to act fast. It also adds to, or it compounds our problem relative to corruption, because all these things are petty corruption. And you ask yourself, who is funding this rice business? Is he a philanthropist? No, Aristotle has said that philanthropists are those who have and want to give. But these people are not giving, they are giving in anticipation for a return to receive in a certain way. They are not philanthropists. So,
what do you think of the fact that no rice has actually been distributed yet? They parked the truck there. It's full of rice. It's got a picture of the aspirant on it, but nothing has been given to anyone.
Yeah, this is a manifestation of what? Power. And power, one of the uses of power is what? Inducement. Yes, it can be used to influence you. All right, this is a proper influence. You are seeing it there. I mean, it has a bandwagon effect that the right-thinking people, those who really want to vote and have something in reward, that is it. So see the picture and do the needful, and next time you are home and dry. Yes. And so it's something that we shouldn't encourage at all. But this thing is becoming consistent in Ghanaian politics simply because punishment meted out to people in this nature, we tend to soften them. We treat people who have crossed the line with kid gloves. In other words, we don't punish them enough to serve as deterrent. There are laws strictly on that regulate the conduct of people. But what are we doing here? It's simply because the political class themselves, I mean, among all the political parties, you will see them doing these things. But they only come to the cameras, pretend as if that they went into clean campaign and the rest of them. We saw during MPP elections some years ago, a man saying that somebody took bicycles from him. I'm here to collect the bicycle, the rest of them. Mm-hmm. And it's not only one party, all the parties. But you ask yourself, this is a breach of the law. And because the political actors are involved, nothing happens. They themselves are part of those who even give them some of these things to go and dole out and then win political favor. And of course, not all of them. But these things need to be corrected if we're a society and we believe that they are not philanthropists. And whatever they give out, they will find a way of taking it back. One will get that message clear. Any attempt of influencing us this way, we know that these are not people who are ready to serve us, but they have their own selfish means that they want to pursue.
Well, this is your election headquarters. We're with you live all day long until we find out who wins what and where. Of course, all of the full lineup of winners of all the constituencies, those who have won the opportunity to be candidates for the NDC, will be announced here on the Joy News channel and, of course, on Joy 99.7 FM. You can catch us on Facebook Live and on YouTube. And you can tweet at us. Use the hashtag ElectionHQ so that we'll see what you're saying and we can share it with the world. Our guest in the studio, Dr. Asa Asante, and he's helping us break it all down. We're looking at the analysis of this thing in the broad spectrum and also when we go into the individual hot spots. Now, we can't forget about the big one, the presidential race, which now apparently is not a race. Yeah. Because, well, it seems like it's a foregone conclusion for former President John Mahama. Although Dr. Dufour is still on the ballot. Now, what might we learn at the end of this process when the ballots are counted? Because some people are going to cast their ballot for Dr. Dufour. What will it tell us by the end? What will those numbers tell us?
Yeah, it is an important education for us. It will actually give you a semblance of Dr. Dufour's strength, even if that he has withdrawn from the race completely. There are people who go out there that, look, I'm here to give my support, even though he's not part of the process. It gives you an idea about his stature and all that. If he's able to get some more, votes, it adds to his image in the party. But from the word go, I knew that this story is not going to change because the people who were contesting were not at the same level. You are competing with a former president. The rest are executives under either Professor Mills or Mr. Mahama or both of the regimes. In politics, people really matter, especially the top political class, the top dogs, all right? Once they come in, you are talking about the president is known everywhere in terms of popularity. Once you said somebody is a president, almost every home is aware of that. So if you measure in terms of popularity, that person is going to beat you. Let us remember that you need only one vote to move from a candidate to become what? A flag bearer, all right? So every vote counts. So popularity, you can't discount that. If you compare the three who are going to compete, there is no doubt in my mind that John Mahama stands very tall of them. You can talk about record. Record is important in politics, yes, because people want to see evidence of this. What have you done against your promises and all that? What were you able to do? Show us the work that you have done, and that is your record. If you have chief executives and ministers like Dr. Dufour and the other gentleman, Mr. Kofi Bonsu, and the rest of them. All that they, all that they are going to say is, take for instance Dr. Dufour. Yes, apart from his personal achievement as a businessman, as somebody who has served in public office, as somebody who has served his country very well, all right, his achievement in politics, he cannot lay claim to it entirely.
But you can't also discount the Economic Intelligence Unit's report, which, to be fair, was surprising, but stated that then the general electorate might consider someone other than John Mahama to be a better option for the NDC. Might make the NDC a more attractive
I challenge that. I challenge that. Let's look at the analysis this way. If what they are saying is anything to go by, then my argument will not hold, but it will hold. Because the last election, nobody gave John Mahama a dog chance. All right? He was the underdog as far as the two giants, Nana Akufo-Addo and John Mahama, were concerned. Right? But you saw his performance. Amazing. Splendid performance. Yes. And that was, it tells you that it's not only maybe a few factors that you consider in politics. There are a whole lot of things that come in. So it will be naive on the part of the NDC to throw somebody who's the last election almost won the election for them and bring in a new person. That there is a certain argument to this effect that, oh, they want somebody who can go for 2 terms. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Even if you take Dr. Dufour, he's 80 years now. Are you with me? By 8, God gives him life, and even he gets to, he becomes the president if he had contested and had won. And he becomes the president in 2025 and thereabout, and then 80 years plus 8 years. He would have been a very old man, but he is very strong and that right. Do you think Ghanaians accept old age in elections like that?
Well, they accepted Nana Akufo-Addo. He wasn't spring chicken at the time.
Yes, but there are other factors that go into it, right? That factor is that people talk about 2 terms. The 2 terms that they are talking about, the Constitution doesn't give anybody any 2 terms.
No.
There's something that people get it wrong. The Constitution gives you only 1. By dint of hard work, the society decide to renew your mandate and give you another one. So nobody has 2 terms. No. It is only 1 term. It's when you have performed satisfactory to the admiration, to the amazement of the people, then they want to top you up and then give you another one. If you also put that one aside, you are talking about that. If you look at the Economic Intelligence Report, they're talking about what they need a fresh candidate and all that. I always ask myself, if you are talking about fresh candidate and there is an old candidate who is delivering the goods, who is pulling the crowds.
Let's very quickly, I'm so sorry I keep cutting in because things are happening. We're going to Ewutu Senya East, Kaswa. Okay, delegates are fighting over transportation. What's that about? Kofi J joins us. Kofi, what is unfolding? Right, it seems we've lost Kofi AJ. Forgive us. We will be going back. But you are seeing images on your screen right now from Ewutu Senya East, the Kaswa constituency. And delegates are reportedly fighting over transportation. Kofi AJ, if we have you now, please explain this to us.
When you want to come to Ewutu Senya East, initially they're supposed to vote at Odupon School Park. But the regional chairman directives changed the venue to Kaswa of Anko NDC Primary School. That's where they are currently voting now. But what we are seeing is that they're supposed to, according to the delegates, former President John Dramani Mahama gave each of them 40 cities as transportation. But initially, in previous elections, they give such money to area coordinators to share among the delegates. But this time around, the treasurer hijacking the money and giving it to them by himself. And there are a lot of people, the delegates are about 2,700. That is where the confusion started. And as I'm speaking to you now, there's a lot of misunderstanding and fighting among them because everybody wanted to get his money first. That's got the fight. And as I'm speaking to you, police are trying to intervene and see if they can streamline the line so that each and everybody can get his money. So that is what is going on here now. And some of the delegates are very angry and even invoking cases on the constituency treasurer.
Let's hear some of these delegates right now.
Omo the transportation at the Amaye. Nanka, the papa mun say, Sanya was saying, Como this can Amaye say, Omo the Bama, the various ward coordinators. Now, ward coordinators also at the branch chairman. Now, branch chairman also the Aquacoma, a year members now, mere delegates never better about. Then social senior Kosia. And Chaye crash, Sanya Koso, Oma Manipa Bebre 2,000 getting to Nipa Treta, Mamobia, so to young Sala and changing your one stress, say about you better than you to me. Obia Bejas and the boy for Noko, Sanya Yadia, Yanya Diasa, Yanya Diasa, constituency treasurer, Aquamofas with this versus says Kawino. It's not the best. Oma, name is an assem. Scan up some Omuria. And now for the account of Fashion Kutukofa Gopia on country. Next 4 years, Westaba. Your train. I'm one of my Casada near to Mamuria, no more Quasadia. I'm that tell you no more. Last 4 years, or tell you, Uba, not do Utuaba, not Wadema, Uzo, not the mouth. Uncasapo. That's when Chajamuya. The other branches in Sanomoya to set Sunday Fako, Casua, other constituency, and this are no more in the Massa. Previous administration comes at time, and so and so and no more about time. No subject of the sunlight, penny for
Kofi, a quick translation, if you will, of what we've just heard.
Yeah, that's what they are saying. According to them, as I told you earlier, they're supposed to give the money to the area coordinators so that they can share among the delegates. But the constituency treasurer has hijacked the money and sharing it by himself. That is where the confusion starts. And it's not easy. As I'm speaking to now, Opako, the state police commander, has intervened and trying to find lasting solutions. Because there's a lot of tension here in Jasper.
Kofi, thank you for that update, and we'll be staying on top of that. Dr. Asante, this is what we're talking about, right? John Mahama, former president, one of the candidates in this race, promises 14.2 million cedis worth of transport for the delegates, right? That's 40 cedis each for about 355,000 delegates. That's 14.2 million cedis. Every time money is introduced into such an exercise, you see chaos. I mean, is it realistic that they didn't anticipate this level of chaos across the country, attempting to share 40 cedis each to delegates?
Oh, they did. It's just a political strategy, but it's wrong. You don't share money. Because the people are not going to do a favor. They are going to express themselves in a way that will inure to the benefit of their society. So why am I paying for your transport when you are going to take a decision that ultimately you are going to be the beneficiary of that, right? So, but because this education has not gone down well with the electorate, and then there is a high level of poverty, the two box up, then people become vulnerable and they gravitate to things like this. But actually, it's a misnomer. It's an aberration. It should not happen in politics. That people should know that when you are going to vote, you are not going to do anybody any favor. It is your decision that you are taking a problem of the future you are taking today. So you go there getting your mind clear on that.
Speaking of John Mahama, apparently he's just voted in Bole Bamboy, the Bole constituency actually, where Isaac Nunya is standing by. Isaac, how did that go? Right. Do we have Isaac Nunya on the phone? Yeah, Isaac, tell us how it went when former President Mahama voted in Bole.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Isaac. How did things go when the former president voted?
Yes, voting started early, and then the former president was one of the earlier people who came to the polling center to cast his vote. And right there, a lot of people who heard of his president also came, the delegates, and they started casting their vote. Right after his voting, the former president encouraged delegates to come out, look at the issues that they think that will help the party going into the election this year, and not to wrangle the board so that after this internal congress, they cannot manage their differences. He said this is a house exercise, and all that they need is to come together and agree who will lead them tomorrow, but not disagree, and that will be the end of it. So he's calling for peace, unity, before and after the polls.
Thank you for that, Isaac. Any remarkable events, or has everything been quite smooth?
Yes. Unlike last year, where the turnout was low from the beginning, this year a good number of delegates came around first, followed by the EC, and then a good number of police visibility is here. And we can say any moment from now, they'll be through the voting. I think the former president also influenced the cordiality and the huge turnout this morning.
That's wonderful. Isaac, keep an eye on that for us. Thank you very much. Listen, let's talk more broadly about former President Mahama's race to become the candidate. This, sharing of money is one of a number of things that people have questioned about his, some of the things he said and so forth. He is undoubtedly the most popular candidate, as you have, elaborated on. But there are some controversies around some of his promises, not least of which is his promise to employ everyone who is a child of some constituency, executive, and pack the security services with them.
It's not the best, but politicians use this thing to sway voters to vote in a certain direction. This thing has been, if you take the security one, which I said, the news file, it has been with Ghanaian politics since a long time. That if you look at Nkrumah's regime, Nkrumah was accused of having surrounded himself with his ethnic Nzima people.
Yeah,
they either play the Nzima card, the ethnic card, or a typical political card, and it just for political expediency.
Can someone stop it though? I mean, is there someone charged with the power to say this is wrong, you should be disqualified, or this is wrong, stop doing it?
We don't. Our institutions are down. They are not able to do. But the way out is that we should have a neutral body made up of civil society and other neutrals, where they will monitor the political plane, and that anybody who crosses the line in terms of your communication, your action, things of this nature, they blacklist you and urge the society to vote against you.
The EC can't do that?
The EC...
They handle all these elections, don't they?
Yeah, the EC, if you add that one, it will be too much for the work that they do, because they need to do proper management of the electoral process. But this one, a neutral body made up of civil society group, well-meaning people, where they every week throughout the campaign, they assess what has been churned out in terms of what your messages are. They messages that bring hate to the people, messages of hate, messages of violence, messages that are underpinned with ethnic, diatribes and the rest of them. Once we have a body like this, who will come out every week to update the public about what they have found, and then the continuous effort of undermining the success of those people by shaming them, by urging the public not to vote for them, I think that will help us. And then people also learning that when people go on this tangent and they need our mandate, we should deny them. But more often than not, we have not been able to do this. One, weak institution. Two, party tradition and party ideology. Or that I am for this party through and through. In life or in death and everything, I support this party through thick and thin. Once we shy away from this, we'll be able to look at this from a pragmatic perspective, and then we'll help our society. But if
can a Codeo, for example, seek to do such a thing?
Yes, a civil society group, should be able to do this thing. Get more, broaden the base of that group to include all very important neutrals in there, so as to win the confidence of the public relative to what the group that you have set up. And then demarcate your borders and then educate people on that. And then you begin to what? Go into action. Once you do that, because for politicians, one thing that they don't want is what negative what advertisement. They don't, because it translates into votes. And they don't want to lose any one vote. Because I've said already, you need one vote to move you from a candidate to become a flag bearer or an MP. So they are careful. And it's simply because of the political system that we operate, the electoral system. First past the push system. Yeah. Whoever crosses the finish line by one vote, you are home and dry.
All right. Well, look, the candidacy of John Mahama appears to be a foregone conclusion. It looks like he's going to win. At least if it's all down to the numbers, then yes, it looks like he's going to win. But as a party, will they end up, and this I ask this because of all the various events that have occurred on the peripheries of these elections, will they end up with a candidate that is the best chance of them regaining power?
Oh, obviously, if you look at within the NDC now, there is no candidate better than John Mahama. If there was, the person, what prevented the person to have, filed his nomination and contested? On top of my head, I can tell you without fear of contradiction that he is the best candidate for the NDC. But it's not enough to say that you have the best candidate. There are a lot of homework that you need to do in terms of your strategy. What strategy are you going to put in place during the election to be able to galvanize the support that you want? And what message are you going to churn out to voters for them to believe in what you want to tell them so as to change their vote one way or another? But that one message is a function of your survey on the goings on within the political plane, where you are able to pick data, analyze, and out of which you develop your manifesto and you develop messages. In advanced democracies, if you are going for election, election like this, you do exit poll, and then you get some information. And then the main election, you pick data. Out of the data, you develop messages for manifesto, messages for campaign, and then slogans that you are able to churn out messages in a very succinct manner that hit the voter gravitate towards you and give you a word. This is a function of political communication. But what we're seeing in Ghana is that we don't have, parties have not taken the trouble to employ people with knowledge in this area. But I must be also fair that in recent time we've seen the parties making sure that they have research officers and the rest of them. But it's not enough. You need political communicators to support the research officers who collect the data. These people will analyze and then be able to develop them into messages for the people. Remember that for you to win election across the country, you need messages at the regional level, at the district level or the constituency level, and then setting specific places. You need to also have messages towards the general structure of the economy. For instance, message towards the youth, message towards the aged, message towards farmers, and then constituency-specific message. So all these things is a function of political communication that you need people. Quite apart from that, the message for it to have effect, you need channels of communication. What are the channels? The radio, TV, newspaper, or even political rally. And these things must not just be done anyhow. There must be a scientific way of getting data, analyze them, and then throw them out based on the findings on the ground. That is the way to go.
Indeed. Now, you remember I asked you how you think the delegates at Setra from Plains will react to the withdrawal of Dr. Dufour. Well, guess what? Our correspondent has put together a report where he spoke to some of these delegates. And in fact, they are saying that they are so unhappy with Dr. Dufour's withdrawal that they are hoping his son does not win. In fact, they are saying Dr. Dufour only joined to frustrate the elections. Let's see this report put together by our very own Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
So as you may recall, unfortunately yesterday, Dr. Kwabena Dufo pulled out of the presidential race for the National Democratic Congress. And Jobonso, or the Central from Plains constituency, is actually a constituency that is dear to his heart. And we have some delegates from this constituency to speak or find their reactions to what really happened, or as to how they are taking this announcement from Dr. Kwabena Dufo. I have with me two gentlemen to speak to on this particular issue. Hello and welcome to this discussion.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so please, what's your name? We start with your name and then you tell us, how did the news come at you?
Right, my name is Mahmoud Kabore, the mouthpiece of the party in this constituency, me, the communications officer. I think we were not too surprised with the news regarding the withdrawal of Dr. Kwabena Dufo from the presidential primaries. We feel that from the onset, this man has never believed in contesting and winning to become a flag bearer of the party. I think it gives us a lot of room to doubt or believe some of the allegations out there or the assertions out there that he only availed himself to be used as a tool by our opponent to distract the party in terms of our reorganization agenda that we started some months ago. And so we were not too surprised, because you knew very well that you were going to pull out. You knew very well that you were not going to contest. So why in the first place all the comments against President John Mahama? Mahama is the weakest link to NDC's victory. Some of your campaign team members, Mahama is an alcoholic. Some of your security details, they will teach Mahama a lesson. All those were unnecessary. If you knew very well you were not going to contest the election, or you were not going to be part of the D-Day. So I think he only decided to pay the 500K as filing fee.
Yeah, so that's how they feel in such a Afram place. But listen, it's all kicking off in Ningo Prampram. Let's go across right now and speak to Joseph Akable, who has been observing the outbreak of violence. Joseph, what's going on?
Hello.
Hello. What's happening?
So these are live pictures from Ningo Prampram, and as you can see, voting has virtually come to a halt at this point in time. In their shot, you can see Michael Kwete Tete is in there. Samuel Nate George, the incumbent member of parliament, is also over there. It's a very thorny issue that has happened now. The issue is that there are some delegates belonging to two branches of the party who initially were not part of the list of those who were supposed to vote. And so there was a court order. In fact, I have a copy of that court order with me. They are from the New Ningo South A branch and the Mobole branch. Those are the two branches. And so there was a court order. There are 8 individuals from the Mobole branch and another 8 individuals from the Ningo South A branch. Now, on these 8 individuals, the court ordered that their names should be added to the list. So they came in here wanting to vote, but unfortunately, they were said they were not going to allow them to vote. And Mr. Kwete Tete came in with a court order holding it and demanding that these individuals ought to be allowed to vote because there's a court order and nothing can supersede the court order, even though their names are not in the list. And so you can see Mr. Kwete Tete in your shot there. He's holding that court order, demanding that these individuals must be allowed to vote at all costs. In fact, voting has ended at this point in time. You can see Mr. George here, also in your shot here. Sam George is here in your shot as well. He's walking away, but there's no voting now. You can see the AC officials. Some of them are holding the ballot papers. Let me see if I can just get a word from Sam George at this point in time to explain, or speak on what is his understanding of what exactly is happening at this point in time. But what we can report is that voting has halted. You can see the booths here are virtually empty. No voting taking place now because of what just happened.
The process are we? Do we still?
So as at this point in time, Mr. George is waiting patiently. He's waiting here.
Yes. How far along in the process are we? Percentage-wise, what percentage of delegates have already voted?
For now, we are looking at somewhere around 70%, but we still have a bit of a distance to go. Let me see if I can just get a quick word from Mr. George. Hello, sir. Unfortunately, we are not being allowed to engage him at this point in time. his security men are preventing us from doing that now. But what we can report now, Kojo, just about 70% now, and so we have still a bit of delegates to go by way of those who are supposed to vote, and so the numbers, a total number is 1,714 that are supposed to vote at this particular station. And like I was explaining earlier, it's a court order that some 16 individuals be allowed to vote. The issue is that once the election took place, some of them were not sworn in, and so because of that, they were not allowed to. Their names were not on a delegate list, and so they went to court, and the court actually gave an order, a copy of that order that we've seen, asking that their names be added to the list. And so these individuals came in here, but their names were still not on the list. And you saw earlier on Mr. Michael Kwete, who had a copy of the court order demanding that the individuals be allowed to participate in this particular elections. And so Mr. George is here, he's waiting patiently and he's looking on. But at the other side is where a lot of the action was actually taking place. And as I try to get closer, over here you can see Mr. Kwete Tete in this shot here. We are going back to that particular side. He's right here. He's holding that court order, and he's insisting that there is no authority here that is higher than the order of the court at this point in time. You can see that the paper in his hand. That is the court order, a copy of which I ran through in terms of what it was effectively asking to be done. There are two branches, the Moliba branch and also the Ningo South A branch, 16 delegates. We can listen to some of the things that are transpiring here.
Last 4 years, we are here. This year,
we are not voting. Yes, we are not voting anymore.
NDC, NDC, no,
constituency is not for some judge. Their constituency is not for some judge. So if some judge is giving an instruction that they shouldn't allow them to vote, then the election will not continue.
They should make sure that they allow them to vote.
I call on you, please. There's an emergency. Please come. Please follow me.
So a lot of chaos here at this point in time, Kojo. And it's still the main center of attention at this point is Michael Kwete Tete, who is being moved around. As far as he's concerned, in fact, just before you pick the feed, I was very close to him, and what he kept saying was that there is no way anyone can prevent these individuals from voting, because he was making the point that these are persons who are eligible to vote, and the court has issued an order to that effect. So there is some applause now. We don't know what the conclusion is. It appears there's been some directive to allow them to vote for now. We are unable to confirm at this point in time. He has actually entered the tent. So under the tent is where the EC officials are, and they are urging calm at this point in time. He's still engaging them. I can, from where I'm standing, I can still see him engaging them under the tent. They are engaged in heated conversation. And for our radio audience, the update from Ningo Prampram is that, in simple terms, voting has come to an end. And so the voting is not taking place now simply because some individuals had come in to want to cast their ballots and were not allowed to do so.
Joseph, as you are attempting to get closer, let me quickly...
So you can still see Mr.
here we are.
Tete in your shot there, engaging the police officers and still insisting that they should be allowed to vote. We can listen to what some of the delegates here are saying.
We are voting. If they don't allow Mobole to vote, I think they are not going to count any paper here. And that's final. We need change. Ningo Prampram need change. We need change. Yaniebri pa. For that matter, Yaniebri. This time around, if they don't allow them to vote, then it means they are not going to count.
But what do you make of what's happening?
What I'm saying is that those who were given court order to vote, they must vote. Nobody will be disenfranchised. 4 years ago, we allowed certain things to go on, and then we were disenfranchised. Branches were disenfranchised. This time when our court cleared them to vote, and they must vote because they have their court order, and the party agreed that they have to vote, and they must vote. Who do you think he is? Who does he think he is?
So that is those are the views of some delegates here, and as I was trying to bring our radio audience up to speed on. The latest is that the voting has halted here at Ningo Prampram. The reason being that there are concerns that some delegates belonging to 2 branches who were initially not in the delegates list, but there's a court order that asks that they be allowed to vote. They came in here with the order. So I'm reading from the court order. It says, this cause having come before His Lordship Justice Emmanuel Ankama on the 12th day of May 2023, and upon hearing Bright Amu Esquire for Anthony Edwin Ketia, and having listened to the submissions, is hereby ordered that for the avoidance of doubt, the order made on the 5th of May 2023 that the individuals who went unopposed and those who were elected but not yet sworn in to be sworn in impliedly that after swearing in, they be allowed to participate in the primaries. It is further ordered that the defendants do allow the following named individuals. So the names are provided here. New Ningo South A branch, there are 8 names actually. Then for the other area, that is the Mobile branch, there are also 8 individuals. So those are the 16 individuals that Mr. Kwetenate is fighting. And for those who may not understand the significance of whoever is allowed or disallowed from voting, the fact is that the last time these 2 individuals came head-to-head in such a contest, it was settled by just 7 votes. And so if you are looking at 8 from 2 different branches, then that tells you that it has the potential to affect the outcome depending on how it goes. And so that is how come Mr. Kwete, and earlier, if you recall the interview I had with him, he had indicated that at this time around, he's not going to allow any situation where some individuals who have been disenfranchised, he will allow it to stand. They must be allowed to vote. And so he's still engaging the police officials and the EC officials as well.
Why is it that so many of the delegates you've spoken to are indicating that somehow Sam George cannot stop people from voting? Is that the case? Is the incumbent in some way preventing people from voting?
Delegates here, they are not happy about what is happening now, and it's a simple demand. As far as Mr. Tete is concerned, it's a demand that the individuals who have secured the court order and are here today, they should simply be allowed to vote. And they believe that these votes are significant in the larger scheme of affairs. Ningo Prampram, like we know it, is a typical NDC stronghold. It's one of those seats where once the voting takes place at the primaries level, it's a sure banker that you are heading straight to Parliament. And so this is the real parliamentary election that we are seeing taking place here. And like I did indicate, the last time was settled by 7 votes, for which reason, if we are talking about 16 votes at this point in time, you know that it's not something that anyone is going to accept easily. And so Mr. Tete is still explaining at this point in time and engaging them.
Right. Now, let me ask you this: is there a reason why these delegates think that Sam George is somehow interested in preventing these 16 delegates from voting? Why are they pointing to Sam George as the person stopping them from voting? Right. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Joseph? It would appear we've lost our connection to Joseph, but you can still see images of what's happening in Ningo Prampram, where a court order indicates that 16 persons from 2 offices of the NDC have been cleared to vote. For some reason, that does not seem to be a straightforward matter, as the contender, the one who is running against the incumbent Sam George, in the person of Michael Tete, is, championing a bid to get these 16 names onto the voting list so that they can indeed cast their votes today. There are many delegates who have spoken to Joy News, all suggesting that this must happen, it must not be stopped. They believe Sam George is the one stopping it from their utterances, and it is difficult to understand why that is their belief. We're hoping to get more of an understanding of this as it unfolds. But you are seeing on your screen right now Michael Tete, who is the contender seeking to unseat Sam George, speaking to the police and attempting to resolve this matter with the court order in his hand. Joseph Akable, if you can hear me, I'm very interested in why these delegates think it is Sam George who is blocking these 16 from voting. Can you hear me, Joseph?
I mean, it's their suspicion, and the point that is being made is that, yes, I can hear you, Kojo. It is their suspicion, and the point that is being made is that, as far as they are concerned, I mean, what happened here in terms of the voting exercise is that these delegates, they came in 2 sets of buses, and so they know themselves. So there are those who came in the buses that were organized by Mr. Kwete, and the others also came in buses that were organized by Sam George. And so they believe that these 16 individuals are those who came in Mr. Kwete's team, and that's how come he's holding the court order and insisting that these are people that he believes ordinarily will be voting for him, and he wants them to participate. And so, I mean, we don't have any firm basis to independently verify that for ourselves, but we know for a fact that these were individuals who were not on the list, and so they took the matter to court, and the court issued an order indicating that they should be allowed to participate in this particular election. And so that is it by way of the question you asked, Kojo.
Thank you for that. And of course, the visuals continue to unfold before your very eyes on Joy News. If you're listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM, all of that cacophony you're listening to is, it's large groups of people following around police officers and electoral officials in and out of tents at the electoral center in Ningo Prampram, led by Michael Kwete Tete, who is contending against Sam George, the current MP. Now, it appears that Mr. Tete has in his hands a court order allowing 16
Kojo,
people
I want to take you around a bit and show you in terms of what has happened by way of the election process itself, in terms of the ballot boxes. And so we can see some ballot boxes here. There's one here. You can see police officers who are around it at this point in time protecting it. So 1, 2, at least 3, 4 ballot boxes that have been protected at this point in time, simply because the voting exercise has virtually halted at this point in time. So the officers are around the boxes that's protecting it to make sure that if there's any issue in terms of the votes that have been cast already are not impacted. And so that's how come they are protecting it. We can see the right side now, where ordinarily those who are coming in to vote, they come in to pick the ballot papers. And so you can see that activities have virtually come to a standstill. There's a bit of a jubilation at the main booth where the confusion seems to have happened. And so let's get closer once again and see whether there's some clarity in terms of what the decision is at this point in time. Still, Mr. Tete is in there, very close and engaging various individuals at this point in time. The demand is quite simple. I mean, they are saying that these are individuals who, despite the initial setback of not being on the list, they managed to secure a court order allowing them to participate. And so that is the demand they are making, that once that court order is right here, then they should be allowed to participate in this particular election. So in your shot there is Sam George's competitor. Mr. Tete is right here. I mean...
Oh, please. Hey.
With the ballot boxes as well as the paper. So that is the situation we are having here. It's a really tense situation. We just have some 2 hours. For the elections to be over. But it doesn't
Well, we've been looking at images from Ningo Prampram, where a bit of commotion erupted when 16 individuals from 2 NDC offices in that constituency turned up with a court order saying that they were now allowed to vote as delegates when they were previously not permitted to do so. With that court order in hand, Michael Kwete Tete, who is the contender running against Sam George in that constituency, then sought to engage the authorities to allow these individuals to vote. That is yet to happen. We have not yet heard that these individuals have been allowed to vote, but we do see that the two contenders and their entourages are gathering in two parts of the park where voting is occurring in Ningo Prampram. And our correspondent, of course, Joseph Akable, is seeking to get some comment from them on the issue. He spoke to them earlier. In fact, Michael Tete indicated that there should be nothing to stop these 16 people from voting, which is why he is championing efforts to ensure they are added to the list. Now, you've got to know that in Ningo Prampram, 16 votes is a lot because people have lost by less. So at the moment, it's very important to these two parties whether or not these 16 individuals are permitted to vote. Joseph Akable is on top of it. He has shown us how things are unfolding, and voting has halted. So we saw images of the ballot boxes being protected by some robust-looking police officers who hopefully will be able to keep them safe and keep the integrity of these boxes while the matter is resolved, and then voting can continue. We're estimating about 70% of delegates have already cast their vote. The remaining 30% will have to wait until this matter is resolved before voting continues. Ningo Prampram is a key constituency, a key hotspot that we're keeping our eyes on here on Joy News because, of course, in spite of it being an NDC stronghold, it is the scene of much drama, as Sam George, after winning 3 times in a row, is now faced by some very, very stiff competition from Michael Kwete Tete, who you can see at the center of your image now. Let's see if we can hear what he and his supporters have to say.
I mean, Kojo, so those are some of the sounds and sights from here now.
Ningo Prampram is nobody's birthright. 8 years is enough. If he has now something to tell us, he should be transparent. West, not deeds. But this time around, we want deeds, not West. So he should be bold enough to come out well and tell us what he has done for Ningo Prampram. What I want to say for change. What I want to say.
I mean, so Kojo, just about an hour to the end of voting, and it doesn't appear this process will resume anytime soon. I mean, what has been done now is that the delegates, they've been moved from the inner perimeter, and so that is to afford the police some space to protect the ballots that have been cast already, and so that is how come we are no longer in the inner perimeter, but we are still waiting here to hear and understand what exactly is the decision going forward, whether these 16 individuals will be allowed to vote or not. That is what we still do not have answers to. mean, so the voting is currently on hold now, simply because of the issue of the voters. And if you are listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM, we are live from Ningo Prampram here at the Ningo Prampram New Ningo Primary School, where the voting is taking place for the NDC Parliamentary Primaries. And as you know, it's a contest between Samonate George, the current Member of Parliament for the area, and Michael Kwete Tete. And voting has come to a halt at this point in time because of the concerns about some 16 delegates who, as we understand, initially were not part of the list of delegates that were submitted, but they managed to secure a court order that indicated that they should be allowed to participate. And for those of you watching on Joy News, you can see Samonate George in your shot, the Member of Parliament there, also waiting patiently. We can take a look at the inner perimeter that I referenced, that it's been cleared a bit now. And so there's a standstill, no voting is taking place. This is the inner perimeter. You have police officers. I can count at least 4 surrounding each ballot box. And so then all ballot boxes, both the presidential and parliamentary ballot boxes, are being protected at this point in time. It is unclear what exactly or who exactly they are waiting for at this point, but simply to put it, voting has come to a standstill as we are waiting for some directions on whether these 16 individuals should be allowed to participate in the election. At least we know for a fact that for supporters of Mr. Tete, they maintain that until and unless they are allowed to participate in this particular exercise, it means that there will not be any voting.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that update. And it looks like Ningo Prampram still in the eye of the storm. Voting has halted as executives make decisions over a court order that has just been produced, saying that 16 people hitherto unauthorized to vote are now permitted to do so by the order of the court. Of course, as they seek to deliberate on that matter, voting has come to a standstill. The two main contenders there, Michael Kwete Tete and Sam Nate George, retiring to their corners to await the verdict of the officials. We'll take you back there as soon as we can. But sadly, our time together on your election headquarters has come to a rather dramatic end, and we're going to take final thoughts from Dr. Asa Asante. We've spent 3 hours together looking at things unfold across the country. I wonder how you think things will wrap up by the end of today.
Yeah, I think if you look at the process, the electoral process itself, it has been peaceful. If you look at how the voters themselves comported themselves, so nice. But a few incidents is what I'm worried about, that it doesn't get more in other places. But I expect that the voters will do the needful, but just go cast your vote and wait for ballot to be counted. And that the things that we are picking as weaknesses, political parties will take note so that going for the next election, they know what to do. Because the next election, the stakes are extremely higher than what we are experiencing. So we expect them to do all the homework and then come and give us a context that is worth its salt.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Asa Asante. You spent 6 hours with us. We can't thank you enough. Well, listen, like Dr. Dufour, it's time for us to withdraw from the studio. But like former President Mahama, we would like to transport you to myjoyonline.com, where all of our stories are awaiting your perusal. Don't forget to stay with us. This is your election headquarters. When we come back, of course, we'll be telling you what you have been saying on social media. Bernice Abubedu Lansa joins you alongside Benjamin Akakpo. The coverage continues. This is your election headquarters. Don't go anywhere. Have a wonderful day and stay with us.